You've seen the work we put in and day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and exposing poor breeding practices. Ugh. We spent years researching, studying, and applying real-world experiences to perfect the art of science of breeding. Why? Because you deserve the best, most accurate information out there. But to keep this mission alive and growing, we need your support. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection live show, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our content. It may seem small, but every like, every subscriber, and every share helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, maintain, and improve high-quality strains. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others discover the power of true breeding, help push this channel to the top. Like, subscribe, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
Chick-fil-A. I could eat there 7 times a day, where the people laugh and children play. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bread to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife, my wife Nancy. And
some lady, I don't know, she
totally
just kind of
screwed
came
it
on.
up. And I'm also here with my special guest, Mike Sayre and Matt Lhamon. We got a bonus with Matt today because I wasn't, it's just like we got Mike on here. Why don't we get Matt on here too? They're a great team, and they're part of the Talking Chickens with M&M Exhibition Poultry Podcast. Welcome, guys. Glad you can make it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Tell us about it. There's a lot of people on my side that probably don't know who you are, have never heard about you, or don't know that much about you. Why don't you introduce yourselves and let us know what you're all about?
You want me to go
You
first?
go, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm Mike Sayre. I think I started in 1973. And actually, when I first got started, I actually had some game fowl racing for a fella horse training friend of my dad's that was really good. And he said he would pay me $10 a cockerel for every one that I raised. Well, in 1973, I was 13. $10 a piece, pretty doggone good. You just had to have them until they figured out they were each cockerels, and then we'd box them up and take them over to Danny, and I'd get paid. I thought that was really a good deal for me. But anyway, I started with just mongrels, hatchery chicks. I got to look at them magazines and thought, man, those are really pretty. And my favorite were Cochins, of course. And got a few Polish with those, and just started FFA and at the local county fair. And then we had a really good local poultry show, which I didn't know anything about. I had really good breeders that were close to me, and hell, I didn't know. But I met all those and progressed into the 75 or so, and then I really kind of concentrated on what I wanted to do and start breeding. Mostly bantams, but I had every variety of large fowl. I've had ducks, geese, guineas, turkeys. I liked them all, like most people, and learned kind of late that you can't have them all. Got going in that, did pretty good. Life intervened, still kept them. Matt and I have known each other since just about 74, 75.
That right.
We've got a lot of stories. Some of them I don't know if we should tell on here. But yeah, we've done a lot of things. And ended up finding out that I enjoyed it. At one time, I think I enjoyed the show part. I enjoyed the winning an awful lot. Maybe too much. That seemed to take precedence over the birds. Then I decided that I actually like them better, even if we don't show them. And I think that's where the really becoming a breeder came in. It was the birds more than the trophies and the ribbons and everything else. And we've said on our show quite a bit that and when it's February and where we're from, the snow's hitting you in the butt, and it's cold, and it's dark. Those ribbons and trophies and stuff, they don't call and ask how you're doing. The people do. It's the people in our world, to me, in the show world, that make it what it is. Because no matter how much we love the chickens, no matter how much we spend on chickens, no matter how much we do with chickens, they're chickens.
It's a community. If you didn't have community, you lose interest big time. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's the people. And anyway, so I went from there, and then we had pretty successful career alone showing. I think 2000, Matt and I got this harebrained idea, and so we created M&M Exhibition Poultry, and we started showing together then. And then we've done pretty well in everything we've done. Matt became a judge. It was on me to become a judge. I didn't want to become a judge.
Why are you forever not? You're so good at it.
Well, I guess that's one thing. I'd rather bitch than have the responsibility. And I think that was kind of what I was told. You'd always bitch and just go do it. So I became an ABA judge first, and was around a lot, and I had judged a lot of junior shows before that. What junior shows there were, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoy judging now. Some years we judge a little too much, but I've met a lot of people. We've seen a lot of the different parts of the country by doing it. I met you guys last November, and that was really neat. And I'd been to California before, but I had never been to Southern California to a show, and that was just a fluke, because as talking to Jim Anderson, I found out, he's a horse guy. Well, I'm a horse guy. My dad was a horse guy. My grandpa was a horse guy. So that kind of the thoroughbreds kind of worked into that.
Didn't you train?
And yes, I was an owner and trainer. Been a racing official at several tracks and did every job in the racing office. And I'm just kind of a handicrapper. And
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, instead of a handicapper, I'm a handicapper.
Those are the ones that don't win.
Yeah, there's always more of those than the ones that win, unfortunately. But then, and we've just kind of went along, and then had the harebrained idea for the Talking Chickens, and I kicked that around for 3 or 4 years. It just didn't seem right. It seemed right, but I just didn't do it. And then Matt and I had both retired, and we kicked it around, thought, what the hell, let's try it. And went from there. So it's been a good time, and it just amazes me at the number of people that watch and learn. Kind of started out as a lark, just talking to each other, and then we got people on, and it's been a really good experience. I enjoy it. Sometimes we're not real good at it, but it doesn't make any difference. You just keep on going.
No, you do great.
Thank you. And what we try to do is like your show is we tell a lot of stories, and we have a lot of fun, and we laugh a lot, but you really need to hi, Sue. You really need to, somebody has to get something out of that podcast, the knowledge that they can use, even if they don't do it like you do it. There's some way that can work in and help with what your problem is, or help someone. So that's my gig.
Like I told you before we started, it's getting the information out, getting really good information, and you guys do a good job. I told you before we got on that some of my favorite episodes you guys did is when it was just you two, because it really highlights you guys really well, because it shows how knowledgeable you actually are, and it really comes through. I mean, you guys have really good guests, and they're very knowledgeable, and there's a lot of experience there. But I like the shows when it's just you guys,
We'll probably do more of those then.
I like that.
What we try to do, and I noticed in your intro, which is a great intro, by the way, Matt, you got to get on that. We did it better.
I know he puts me to shame. That's for sure.
But anyway,
Nancy might have something to do with
I
those
think Nancy
intros.
should. Yeah, I think Nancy should make an intro for us.
She's trying to change all my stuff, by the way.
Well,
I'm not too happy about it.
Here's the thing. I think it's a little bit long, and so I'd want to shorten it a little bit. So.
Well, you'd have to shorten it with us, because we don't do near that much stuff. But 12 seconds, here's these two idiots again. No, but anyway, I don't even know where I was going. Oh, but in your intro about misinformation, I feel a need, and Matt does too. You call it misinformation, which is very nice, but we just call it bullshit. and there's so much of it. It's like, if it's an innocent thing, but you hear people and you're thinking, you know better than that. I'm thinking to myself,
some don't.
But some do. And the ones that do bother me the most.
How about the internet experts who've been around for 3 to 5 years and think they know everything?
They know everything.
Yeah. We have that in the game fowl industry as well.
Oh, I imagine it's in everything. Believe me, horse racing, you name it, and it's in it. But I've had enough. I've said enough. So Matt, you can give your spiel.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump in here. So I started in '72, and my grandfather lived next door to my great uncle, and they had a little, I call it a hobby. There's about 30 acres there, a hobby farm. But my uncle raised eggs for a local bakery, and the guy would only use brown eggs. And in '73, you know how things were. There weren't too many people raising home flocks, and there weren't too many raising enough to supply this bakery. So he supplied eggs to the bakery and milk to a ice cream. He raised Guernsey dairy cattle. And so in the summertime, I was there, and my job was to take care of the chickens. So in '73, we had a flock of about 400 White Rock production pullets. And he said, why don't you take a couple of these to the fair? So I did. I didn't know the difference between a pullet and a cockerel. I had them entered wrong. So I took these 2 pullets to the fair. When I got to the fair, my mom dropped me off at the fair. She'd come back at 9 o'clock at night, pick me up, left me there all day, but I was happy. I met what was called a stringman. And in the old days, in the 70s, that's kind of when they started going downhill, but they would bring a truckload of chickens to the fair, and that's how they made their money. They'd go from fair to fair to fair, showing all these different breeds and varieties, getting the premiums, and then they moved on to the next one. But at that fair, I got my 2 chickens in there, and I'm just as proud as could be. And here comes this guy in his flatbed truck with more chickens than I had ever seen, different kinds. And his name was Wilbur Stauffer, who was one of the legends of our hobby at the time. I didn't know it. He goes, would you like to help me unload? I'll pay you, X amount of money. And if you'll take care of my birds all week, I'll pay you this much more when I come back. So I said, oh, sure. So we unloaded birds for about 4.5 hours and got them into cages. And then back those days, we had a carry-up show. So all the birds had to be carried up, put in the cage. The judge would place them, and then you took them back and got the next class. So I helped Wilbur and his wife Doris carry them up, and that I was pretty much hooked from that on in. This is what I wanted to do. I didn't think I wanted to be a stringman, but I wanted some of those birds that win, and in the breeds and varieties I was interested in. And mine were coaching and Wyandotte Bantams at first. My first fancy birds were white coaching Bantams, and nothing like we have today. But progressing on, I went up till about 1983, and then college and moving to town and no birds. So from 83 to 90, I didn't have any birds, but I always had it in the back of my mind when I got married and we moved to the country that the first thing that I was saving for was that chicken coop. So it was about 90 that I did that, and I got back into black Wyandotte Bantams, and I had them for quite a few years exclusively. We'd raise 200 or 300 a piece. And at that time, I tell everybody this, they don't believe me, but at that time, black Wyandotte Bantams couldn't get out of their class. They were so bad that they got best of variety, and then they didn't even look at them for best of breed to move on. So I was happy that Mike and I finally in about 75 or 76, we got to working together and trading birds back and forth. We got them to where they could win best of breed. And over the years, we got a few best of shows and reserve of shows, and kind of got them with some other breeders, got them, where they actually looked at them. So kind of fast forward, I think we didn't show together, but we went to shows together, and he had the same young family that I did. And we kind of the wives were happy because we drug the kids away to the shows on the weekend, and they had the weekend off, and we let them do whatever they wanted and bought them whatever they wanted. And so we had a good time. And then at the 98 show, I had given Mike a bunch of 98 show in Columbus. I should preface for those that understand. The 98 show in Columbus, Ohio was an ABA national, and it was the largest poultry show ever held in the United States. And Mike actually got a black Wyandotte pull it up as reserve rosecomb clean leg on that show, Champion Row, which was a big feat for a black Wyandotte at the time. There was a white Wyandotte as best, and he was reserve, and they both come out of trios.
And there was 1,000 Wyandotte Bantams there.
Yeah, there was 1,000. Wow. It was the biggest show ever of Wyandotte Bantams. They haven't beat that show yet, so we're hoping maybe to do that in a few years. We're planning on another big monster show, but, and then in 2000, we went for a couple more years like that. And in 2000, we decided, well, why don't we just show together and you take, some of these breeds and varieties and I'll take some of the other ones. And it's been like that ever since up until now. And like he said, I got to be a judge about that time. So what had happened in the early 90s, we started this junior program. And up until then, the kids showed with the open class and, they kind of didn't get much out of that. It was, they would do it, but it just wasn't like it is now. So I've seen the junior program, and he has too, go from nothing to now at Columbus. We have 2,000 to 3,000 birds in the junior show. There's hundreds of kids in showmanship. There's seminars, there's clinics. So we put our money where our mouth was in the youth back then. And we kind of copied from the rabbits because they were doing the same thing at the time. I'm a pigeon guy too, and the pigeon guys is an old man's hobby. They never did that, and that's why they suffer, I think, a little bit. They're doing a little better job now with the NPA and getting kids in it and getting them involved because, somebody's got to take your place down the road. And I look back at him and we were those little kids running around the show hall being a pain. And now we're the old guys with the kids that are running around behind us that are a pain. But I got to judge in these junior shows.
You were kids, right?
Right.
You said 70 years you've been known each other?
Yeah, we've been known it since 73 or 4. My friend Clay Dove took me up to his house one time to visit, and that's when we met, and we've been pretty much friends ever since. So over 50 years of
50 years,
of trials and tribulations. So I started judging the junior shows. I started judging in the early 90s. I got my license in 2000, my ABA license, and then a couple years later, I got my APA license, and then I've judged in 40 states, Bermuda, and a couple of provinces in Canada. So I say I'm an international judge. So I got to go to Bermuda once and Canada several times. So I got to go. And it's a nice thing about that is getting all over the country. You get to see different things, different people, different types of things. So I enjoy that, although I don't enjoy flying as much as I once did. It kind of fast forward to that, we started M&M Exhibition Poultry, and my degree's in marketing. So that's something that was new. And I was in the computer business for 20 years. So I was instrumental in getting a lot of the clubs, the APA, the ABA, and a lot of breed clubs online when the internet first come out. And you talked about internet experts. I've seen them from day one. Before we actually even had the internet, the browser internet, we had, we called it Chicken Chat. We had a terminal-based chat every Saturday night where there'd be hundreds of people in there doing what we're doing now on a more rudimentary level because it was all command line typing and all that good stuff. And I've seen it progress to message boards, websites. Now with the podcast, it's a great way to get information. But like Kenny said at the start, it's also too easy to get misinformation. So when we started this, it was his idea. I was kind of reluctant at first too. I said, "Do you think anybody's going to watch you and I on there blabbing on about these show chickens?"
We said the same thing, didn't we, Nancy?
Yeah. The first show we went to after we started, I was just amazed, and people from all over the country, and like I said, little kids coming up to us wanting our autographs. I thought, oh my! So it's kind of went from there till now, and now we look at different things to do. But I was at a show this weekend, and I had a dozen people come up to me and, thank me for the podcast. And the bad thing is I'm horrible with names and I can remember faces usually, but we do appreciate everybody that listens and we do get out and listen to yours. And some of our guests have been on your show and we just continually have a list on my phone of people I want on and I just keep pushing them until they submit.
I go to the shows and, they'll take pictures with me or ask for my autograph. And my daughter's thing is she'll go to me and she goes, "Why does my dad have to be famous for chickens?" You know what I mean? So,
I don't feel like,
so you started judging first and then you forced Mike to do it later. And now Mike
actually, he was in the program years ago and didn't finish it. And like he said, back then it was a whole different situation. So it was a bunch of old men judging, and most of them didn't have birds anymore. And then all of us that had birds hated them because they were the ones placing our stuff. And then it kind of progressed to where some of the breeders were starting to become judges. And my motivation was just to do the youth shows. I wanted the youth shows to have a licensed judge and not somebody they just drug out of the aisles to go pick their birds, right. To give them a fair shake. And there was a lot of kids in that day, and we see them now. We've had several of them on our show that have went through that whole thing and are still doing show birds, and we're thankful that they kept going, and we think we have a little prod into that to keep them going and keeping them on the straight and narrow. So that was my motivation. And then if you're a decent judge or they're not complaining as much, you just get too much work. And like for a long time, we did 30, 40 shows a year. Whoa. And the problem with that is then your birds we never got to, we had the birds. And like he said, we got the focus on the birds, but you never got to show them. So we would come out 2 or 3 shows a year and do fairly well. And it's and then we pick up different things. We always have our main breeds, and then we always have a project. And now I got more projects than I do have main breeds, but it just keeps it fresh, because for 20 years of just having black Wyandottes, that's kind of like eating a bologna sandwich every day. Yeah. And I started picking up some other things, and I like him. I've had everything almost in the standard at one time or another, and had some success with most of them. And if I didn't have them very long. So you soon learn what you're good at and what you're not good at. Polish, I'm not good at, although I love them, but I just can't raise them. So I think that about wraps up my.
I know the feeling, because it's like I've had my family for like 30 years, and there was times when I started to get bored with them because it's the same thing all the time, and I just start new strains just to flex my breeding muscle,
Right.
So
and keep you interested.
He's got all my birds right now for the next until we get back from here. So he's pretty well loaded down.
Yeah, I had an empty barn, and now it's pretty full. But
yeah,
my daughter's leaving tomorrow with some, so she's taking some back to Pennsylvania. So I'll have some empty coops again.
Mike, are you still the American Bantam Association president?
Yes.
How do you like that?
I like it, and I think I like it because we've got a great board, great secretary, assistant secretary. Yeah, I mean, in any poultry show or poultry organization, on our side at least, it's the secretary that makes everything run. And I like it because, truthfully, they're so good, and the board of directors, and that's my vice president. I don't usually have a damn thing to do except walk around and say thank you, and yeah, we're doing great. But truthfully, I mean, it's kind of, that's always been. I've been manager of several large departments in large box stores, and I have managed Tractor Supply stores, 3 different ones, and was always highly successful because I found people that could do what I couldn't do, and I let them do it. That's my management
I'll
style.
tell you what you can get them to do is rotate the feed, so we're not getting old feed.
Well, I haven't been there in years. And that was one thing, being someone that back then I had chickens. Actually, I got the job because, I got like 15% off my feed, and it was wintertime, and I was training and had a whole stable of horses, and I had nothing to do for 4 months. So I took a part-time job that I didn't leave for 3 or 4 years because I ended up being in management training and then a manager, and then I did well, and I moved to another store, and I'm thinking, this is not what I want to do. I want to get back to the horses. But you start getting that everyday paycheck, and you get a little bit of go, and I never had any experience, truthfully, in any kind of marketing or any kind of retail anything, but I just try to use common sense. People don't buy stuff in brown boxes. Take it out and let them see what it is. When you mark stuff down, mark it down. Get rid of it, because after 30 days, it's dead inventory. Yeah. It's just stuff like that, and it worked fantastic. And of course, I took a lot of flack because I did stuff that no one else did, but I had results that no one else had, and I didn't know any better than that wasn't the way to do it. So but that's still my style with this, and I if they need me, I'm here. It's kind of like, if you need a hammer, I'll hammer for you. But
Nancy,
you got it. But if you have good people and you know what to expect, and they do what they're supposed to do, it's an easy job.
If you have any questions, Nancy, just ask. I know I'm dominating this thing.
Well, I do have 2 questions from myself. I don't have any.
Okay, I mean for
yeah,
you.
but
Yeah, if you
what?
have any
Okay.
questions personally.
You were talking about the junior show that you were heavily involved in. Did that have anything to do with the 4-H community, or is that completely
Oh,
separate?
It kind of started out of that. So the 4-H in Ohio, we have 88 counties. We have 88 4-H counties, and they all do it a different way. So it started out as a way to standardize it some for the exhibition side of it. So in 4-H, you have commercial birds, then you have exhibition birds. And normally the kids start with hatchery quality stuff, and then they soon find out about these show birds. So it was kind of a tie-in at the time to get the 4-H more over towards the exhibition style birds, and they go buy them from exhibition breeders and not get them from the hatcheries, because they soon find out when they take them and they get beat by a kid that bought them, from a show based flock, that they're not competitive, even if they do everything right. It's like going to the dog pound and trying to win Madison Square Gardens. It just doesn't happen that way. So that was kind of the motivation. Plus I had at the time, I think my daughter was 7 or 8 when she started in it, and she was getting into 4-H. She was in clover buds, and she had all the birds she could pick from, but she never wanted none of mine. She always wanted her own thing, that's why we've had so many over the years. But kind of just that was the motivation, to get them kids trained the way we thought they should be trained. And I'm proud of what's out there now, because like I say, this year at Columbus, we're expecting between 2,000 and 3,000 in the junior show, and they're the best ones from all over the country. And it's when you judge a showmanship class down there, they'll try these old men's knowledge on what's up. Sometimes they amaze us what they know, and it's like, oh my God. And then we had Josh Flees on a few episodes ago, and he was one of those. A whole group of those kids went to the University of Arkansas and some of them got their master's, some of them got their doctorate degrees in poultry science. So they're kind of all over the place. They're in genetics, they're in feed, they're in
cool.
My daughter was in hatchery management, and now she's a 4-H educator for 2 counties in Pennsylvania. So to see those kids go on and keep with it is kind of rewarding and makes it worth all that, because we spent a lot of time judging showmanship. And he cringes and I cringe every time they ask again, because it's once you've done it for like 25 years, it's kind of, but I still do it, because like I said, that next bat, when they bring their grandkids back, that's when you've been doing it too long.
Yeah, Sue is saying here, unfortunately, they don't have much going on in her counties, but she's saying watching the 4-H kids at the shows is wonderful. They are focused and attentive to their birds. It's simply wonderful. And I completely agree. Even in our small little town here of Ramona, Tawny did many years of 4-H, although she did 2 years of poultry. Learned a lot, before she moved on to home economics, but it's wonderful. I mean, just 4-H just in general is wonderful. It really brings those kids out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And, teaches them responsibility.
They learn how to present in front of people, and they get rid of that bashfulness. And I will say, for California, and I've judged out there a bunch, and the program in California was second to none in the country for a long time. And a lot of the programs in other states were patterned out. I can't remember the lady's name that was at the state 4-H office out there, but she was like a drill sergeant, man. Them kids were dressed. They were like Sue said, they're watching their bird. They're watching the judge. They had a good system going, and it's part of that was used when we patterned back then it was called the ABA youth program, and it's kind of evolved into other things now, but California was a big influence on that.
I'm a judge for the American Gamefowl Society, and I became a judge because the person who created it was my mentor, and we spent a lot of time. So I didn't have to take a test exactly. He just knew that I understood the bird. But the organizations we have for American games today, their qualifications aren't really that high. You guys, I really like the way you guys, how they have to be tested, how they have to be trained, how they have to follow certain mentors for a little while. For those who want to be a judge, can you kind of lay it out what they need to do?
Yeah, I was the head of it. Yeah, I was the head of it. I took it over for that reason. I didn't like the way it was going. There are certain things you need to know, and you need to know how to judge birds in the show. And we have, and you do too, we have the scale of points. and you have to know how to apply that and how to apply it correctly. You can't overweigh faults and defects, and you have to know your disqualifications. So we rewrote the test. So probably 10 years ago, Mike.
Yep.
I think it was when Bill Patterson was president. He appointed me to take it over. A good friend of mine, Glenn Cryer, run it for years, and Glenn passed away, so I kind of inherited it. And I thought we need to redo this. We need to focus less on history and things that really don't matter, and kind of focus totally on showroom stuff. So it is that it's 100. The final test is 100 questions, and it's applying that scale of points and applying the knowledge of all 7 classes of Bantams. And I think we've done a good job of that. And I was real adamant with my apprentices that they got some experience. We make them judge 2 junior shows. That we were turning judges out that had never judged a show before, and they're getting thrown to the wolves right off the bat. So now I think everybody coming out of the program has got the stuff they need to be a good judge, and that's what we want. To be a judge, you have to be a member of a club for 5 years, and you have to have some breadth of knowledge in all 7 Bantam classes. So that gets you started. Then they go through a 2-year apprenticeship where they've changed it a little bit now, but you used to have to clerk at a show under another judge and kind of follow him and ask questions. Now they can do a couple different things. They can do the 2 junior shows, of course, which is a good experience to get them in to how to place all the classes out to the end of the show and get to the champions and reserves. And then they also get to shadow along with a judge, or they can shadow along with a breeder, and that'll count toward their apprenticeship. Once they get their apprenticeship done, they're required to take that written test, and they have to get an 80 or above on that, and they take a showroom test with the judge. Well, he'll go around to takes about 4 hours. They'll go around to all 7 Bantam classes and then have them place those classes, and then they'll discuss why they placed what. And I always tell everybody, and everybody's a new judge, don't tell me you like it. I know that's the worst thing you can ever tell Matt. You better be able to tell me why you're cutting it and where you're not cutting it. And, Tyler Murray was on our podcast, and he's one of our proteges from day one. And he had said something very good on there, is you got to look for the good qualities first, because as a judge, you get in the habit of just looking at the bad things. And then sometimes you box yourself in a corner because you don't have anything left. So you have to weigh the good with the bad and not overweigh the bad. So that's what makes a judge, and that's how some are successful and some kind of falter.
Yeah.
It's like life.
Yeah.
Same way in life. You got to look for the good, man. Because if
we have an old judge, and he told me, we have an old judge, Brian Decker. He's from up in Wisconsin originally. Now he's out in Maryland. But he always says, and I've used this in my whole life, what you tolerate is what you'll have. And I don't care what you do. Yeah. That thing, I've got it ingrained in my head, because if you don't like something and you tolerate it, then you're going to live with it. So
big time.
I didn't like the way the program was going, so I changed it. So it's kind of where we're at now. And then I've moved on from that. And now Terry Britt from Chicago's running it, and he's doing a good job. And I think we have 8 or 10 really good apprentices that are getting close to testing. But we turned out, I know Mike and I, when we were in it, we turned out about 8 or 9 judges, and they're some of the best judges we got going now. Yeah. And the more experience they get, the better they'll get.
Yep. We were talking about this in the back end before we came on, and that is the influence that the judges have on the birds. That, like my mentor, Tony Seville used to always warn me, watch out, Kenny, you don't want to judge the same show all the time. Your influence is going to change the breed, or you'll have some shows where you keep asking the same judge on there, and over time they will change the breed because the picks that they did, or the birds that they didn't pick, or the way they influence them, or they'll ask questions. He always said too, never let the judge pick your brood fowl. That's something you need to do on your own. Yeah. So I'd love to hear what you both think about that.
Yeah, he'll tell you, but I'll start with just a quick point that we make with all of them. When you're a judge, you got to take off your breeder hat and put on your judge hat. So we'll go down to a class coach and Bantam. Oh yeah, I could use this for that, but you got to forget about that. I'm looking for the best show bird in the best condition today, and some people can't do that. Some people are stuck in that breeder mode, and you have to get rid of that, especially like we do Cochins and Wyandottes. We're pretty good on those, but we get into a breed that we don't raise. That's all you're doing anyways, because you're not looking for breeders. You're looking for the show birds. So in those breeds you're really familiar with, and with you being game fowl, you've got to go for that show bird that day and what your standard says and get the breeder thing out of your head. And that's a big thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that can't separate those. Well, that's not true. Yeah, that is true. And there's a lot of judges that can't breed and never have been able to breed anything. But anyway, that's another story. But the whole deal is, to me, to judge, you have to be able to take that knowledge, but you still got to have that eye. It has to fill your eye. That, I mean, if you got, in our case, I mean, we went into 100 black Old English Bantam pullets. Well, good Lord. And by the time you weed through all those, you know, I mean, you probably still got 5 or 6 of them. A lot of times that any of those 5 or 6 are first. Any.
Yeah.
But so you got to put that in your mind and look at them, and you get a snapshot, right? It's a snapshot in time. And if that bird is doing something, if it's a pullet or a hen, and she's decided to lay, or she's decided that she's just had enough and she will not get up, or it's one of those days and they're in the top of the cage. It's like, what are you doing up there? So it's just that snapshot of time, and you have to make that decision, and you have to have enough confidence in why you made that decision to just go with it. Because once you start going back and going back and going back, you are lost.
Yeah.
And you will make the incorrect decision over the whole thing. And once you make it, you got to live with it. So you got to be able to justify it, but you have to live with that decision. And there's times that I've taken stuff up the champion row and looked at it and thought, oh, hell. Does it look like it looked 20 minutes ago or an hour ago? So, but that's where you have to have the confidence in yourself and in your knowledge of what you're doing. And the only person you have to justify that to truthfully is yourself. You have to say, well, that's not what they look like back there in your head. You don't say it out loud, but I mean, you have to be able to justify it. In our case, with double shows and sometimes triple shows now.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you know what? I can judge that the first time we go down through there, somebody isn't doing something, and so this bird wins, and you go back through, or the next judge goes through, they look altogether different. Now, that's the way they're showing, but it can't be the way their condition is, and it can't be the way their type is. That still should be, because when you get into a real tight class, you know, it's not much. Not much separates, like, even the second, third, or fourth place bird from that bird that went champion of show or best of breed. It was just that snapshot at that time that was correct.
Well, I've been at game fowl shows where the judge, because I don't judge them all. Matter of fact, I haven't judged in a while. I've been so busy with the business, but they were walking around judging them. They weren't even picking them up. That bird can change so much in your hand. You don't know that bird until you actually get it in your hand. But let me tell you this.
I'll go back to my old buddy, Henry K. Miller, who was a great judge and a great stringman. He always said, let's get the damn things out now. We'll find out what's wrong with them. You have to handle the bird. That's a big rule. Another thing I'll add before you go to Kenny, is that we have 1 minute to look at that bird, and we're expected to do 300 to 500, 600 a day. I've judged as many as 2,000 in one day. So they got to get you when you got that 1 minute. And if she's deciding to lay an egg or whatever, sometimes you don't have time to sit there and wait with it. So some of the guys that are really good judges are extremely slow, and you can't run at that pace. You have, and these shows, they want you in and out. He talks about double, triple shows. You know, they're ready to flip the cards right behind you as you go. So you've got about 1 minute per bird. And if it doesn't hit you in that 1 minute, you're never going to see it.
Nancy, you remember this experience where we were at a show. It was an APA event. It was a big event. I can't remember what it was called at the time, but it was one of the first times they had game fowl at the show. They had the domestics inside the barn, and all the chickens were all the game fowl were on the outside.
Ventura?
And, yeah. And
that was Dave Anderson. Dave
Anderson. Yeah, I know him real well. And now they had an APA judge the American Games, but I'm going to show you how he didn't even understand the breed. Okay. They should have, in this case, had someone who understood the breed, like maybe Tony Seville or myself, to judge him, because what happened is it was a pretty good showing too. There's a lot of birds there, probably the biggest I've seen in a long time at an APA event. And there was one bird in there. It was a golden duckwing, beautiful plumage, great colors, but the type and conformation, the structure of the bird was completely off. It looked like a domestic chicken. And everybody was walking around kind of making fun of it. Oh, that shouldn't be here. I don't know why you brought it. Pretty bird, but it doesn't really represent the breed. Damn, if that bird didn't win that show.
Yeah.
And that guy was like, oh, I can't wait to breed them, and I'm going to produce a strain out of them. I go, I had to take him aside to, let me have a talk with you, because that bird just was, you didn't want to breed that one, you know?
Well, it's not just that. When you're talking about a game bird, right?
Yeah.
When it hits your hand, it's got to feel like a game bird.
It's got to be full and corky. You can't feel the breast coming through the muscle. Yeah.
It's the same way in Bantams. I mean, that's why Old English, we both love judging Old English, because without looking, I don't care what the rest of it looks like, but if it hits your hand and it's not a game, it's not a game. It can be as pretty as it wants to be, but if it doesn't have the body and the structure of what they were originally intended for, then there's no use. Right. And people do that. People, like you said, you know, I'll go into a class, both of us experience, and we look down and we think, why in the hell would you show 22 of these?
You know why?
And
you know why?
Because you're picking their breeders, and that is not correct.
Well, let me tell you what's happening here too. Is there's a lot of game fowl breeders and cockers. Like I told you, I don't know if I said it on the front or the back. We talked about it. They don't understand the true structure of the bird.
Yes.
So I think the same thing when I'm judging shows. I'll walk around. I'll walk over to Nancy and go, I wouldn't give $5 for any one of these birds, you know, because they don't really understand the breed. They don't know how to select them. If they got pretty plumage, then they're good to go. But they don't really understand how the conformation type, the carriage and station is supposed to be, you know. And sometimes you pick them up, they're full of lice on top of it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
I think you hit a good subject, because I know on the APA side, we've had American games since 1965. The creator of the Bantam standard, Frank Gehry, was the guy that created the American game Bantam. And so we've had them all along. They haven't been a big popular, you know, they're starting to come back a little bit now, but not a big popular breeder variety. But they put them in the APA standard. Now they're trying to get the large fowl games over in there. And we have large fowl Old English games and large fowl modern games, but they're trying to get the large fowl American game. And that's a big battle, because we definitely have more comb color, leg color, conformation types that they don't deal with. And they think it's okay to have a pea comb on an American game. Well, we don't think that way.
Well, there's bigger problems going on there than you think.
Yeah.
It's who's deciding what the standard's going to look like. What birds are they going to select as their examples? Are they going to allow white in the tail and the wings, which is just progressive white, which is actually a genetic defect when you think about it. It's an RNA error, you know? So there's a lot of issues going on. I mean, we all want the American games in the standard, and Tony and I worked very hard to get them in there when we thought we had a good chance to do it. And I don't remember, I think Dave Anderson was the president at the time, but all of a sudden they started throwing obstacles in front of us that we were never going to match, because what they wanted to do is, as you know, the American game Bantam has been in there since, I think, in the 1930s. Okay.
Yeah, it was originated. It was in the standard first and 60.
Right. But they wanted us to match that standard, which we couldn't do, like blue leg and some other things that bird had, which matched more of a jungle fowl than it actually did the American game. So they made it so difficult. We just said, okay, I guess it's not going to work out. Now we're all excited that they're trying to get them in now. That's what I'm hearing anyways, but I'm just worried about how they're going to do it. And the birds are going to be using as their example, because what I'm seeing don't represent true American games.
I don't know how, since the APA has the American game Bantams, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. They took our standard.
I know that's what I was getting. How could not the large fowl American games look like an American game Bantam
Not in any way. Not in any way.
I know that's their problem.
Yes.
Because you're going to have American games and the Bantams look like this and the large fowl look like that.
No.
Yeah, my suggestion is they're going to have to call them something else.
And I hear they are. They're going to call them American pit birds or something like that, which is even worse.
Yeah, I think they need to come up with a better moniker than what they're in. I think you've got regional areas trying, and the one thing I can tell you about these organizations, I was president for 4 years. How many? Yeah, 4 years, and then vice president for another 4 years, and then vice president again in the Bantam side. To get something in, you have to have a unified standard presented to the committee. When they start seeing all that conflict amongst regions and different breeders, and they're going to tell you it ain't going to happen. They want one standard put up to them, and then they want you to present the birds that match that standard. And because none of us know anything about game fowl, and we're going to have to go by that written word. And I think that's the hitch right now.
Well, if they put it in wrong, then people are going to start breeding them to match that standard, and we really got a problem. They should have somebody like Tony Seville, who wrote his standard, which is, I don't even know where it went. He has his own standard, which is really close to what Herbert Atkinson did with the Old English Games. He was the president of the Oxford Old English Game Club. Probably one of the best standards for Old English and American games that exist, and Tony's matches that very closely. They've had other people attempt to make the standard for American games. They've taken 4 or 5 different standards and tried to make it into one. And the one that the UGBA has right now is a mess. I have it right here. It's the biggest piece of crap you ever saw in your life. And if they try to use this, that breed's going to go down the wrong road big time. So I'm a little worried. I'm actually really worried about what's going to happen.
Let me say this real quick. You were talking about you get what you tolerate. And back when you were talking about you get what you tolerate, I was about to say, hey guys, I'm about to open up a can of worms. And it's about this. It's about this subject matter. I keep telling Kenny almost on a daily basis, you need to get in there. You need to do something.
I'm not
because no, let me finish. Because if you don't, you're going to have to deal with that standard for the rest of your life. And he will explain why he's staying hush hush and stuff like that. But it's killing me because here's a guy, Kenny, who has studied the American games for 30 years, and Tony Seville. Yeah, and Tony Seville, who know it like the back of their hand.
One of the best. And
they're going to go and muck it up. And it's just, those birds are near and dear to my heart, the American games. And it's killing me that
my feeling
go
is
a different way.
If they come to me and ask for my help, then I'm more than happy to help. I'll give them what I think. I'll give them some advice, and I'll tell them where I think they should go. Will they listen to me? I don't know. But I'm not going to call them up. I'm not going to call them and go, hey, you need me. You know what I mean? Get me in there because go ahead.
I think therein is the problem. So the person and we've been involved with getting lots of new breeds and varieties in over the years. The person presenting has to have some credibility, where you would, but just Joe Blow that's never showed a chicken in his life and wants to change all this. And like you said, have peak homes and white. That committee is never going to buy that. It's never going to happen. So unless they get a really good, and they haven't done it yet, they haven't presented them a written standard. Because I actually asked this weekend, I asked the standard committee chairman, have you gotten anything from them? He goes, they haven't talked to me at all.
That's what Tony said too.
Yeah. What they're doing now is just preliminary stuff. So the good thing is in 2 weeks, I get to judge a show, and I'm one of the 2 APA judges, and I'm going to bust their bubble because there's never going to be no peak homes. I can tell you that right now. There's never going to be no white in the tail.
You know why? Yeah. You know why? They're not true peak homes. They're rudimentary peak homes.
Yeah. That's not. They're going to want them to, kind of line up with everything else as far as uniformity. And that's the thing when you go to present. And I've told all these new breeds and varieties that you have to jury those birds you're presenting. Because me as a judge, if I get, they're trying to raise money. Okay. If I'm trying to get, and I was with the Saramas when that was a new breed that went in, the Koshamos when that was a new breed that went in. And just recently, Mike, we had 5 qualifying meets at Columbus last year. We told them all, jury those birds, make sure they all are similar, because that's the first thing that judge is looking at. He's got your written standard and he's got what you present. And if they don't match, 4 out of 5 made it. The fifth one didn't make it because they had some really good birds in there, and then they had some really bad birds in there. And that tells me, and we'll tell you this too, I think, as we're talking, a good breeder I can see as a judge, if they put 7 birds in there and they all look alike, that's consistency. And that's where it gets hard to pick them. But if you've got a breeder that's got 7 birds in there and they're all over the place and type and whatever, then I know they don't know what the hell they're doing.
And
so
you're going to see a lot of that too. Now, let me tell you this. The UGBA, which is spurring all this, and the one that had that standard that I was talking about, I know the guys that are running that organization, and I know the judges. And you want to know something? I don't think not one of those judges has been raising chickens very long period and does not even know American games, and they're supposed to be judges of the American games at the shows. This is crazy.
Yep. And it's a dead, in my mind, it's a dead heat unless they get those things we just talked about. So I don't think they're going to put them in like you think they are, because I know that committee. I've fought with them myself over things over the years, and that's got a line right up. And if they see any of that, I think that might have been the problem the last time. If they see any of that discrepancy and infighting, it'll be done right there.
Well,
that's just my opinion, folks. I'm not speaking
I
for
hear
any.
You. What happened last time with Tony and I and Dave Anderson is just, and it wasn't even Dave Anderson. It was some others. I don't want to mention names. I'm not even sure they're there anymore. I think one of them still is, but we didn't even get that far to get them into the, start judging them and have them looked at. And it was just getting it started. And we knew that if we had to match, we had to use large fowl. Usually it's the Bantam matches the large fowl, not the large fowl matching the Bantam. And if we had to match the Bantam, we just knew we were never going to get there. There's nobody had those kind of birds. Nobody had like blue legs, I think it was at the time. You know what I mean? We're like, what the hell? So that's when Tony started his organization called the American Game Society, created his own standard and then created a club and started working from there. That's one of the reasons we have the shows that we have today for the American Games, because of Tony. Otherwise, nobody was showing them at the time, Right. And so that was the good thing. But, they're not even coming to Tony now, who they need to. They're not even looking at a standard other than they use it to match, to blend it in with 4 others and to make their own. Yeah. The one guy that can make this thing work, they're not even talking to, which is, I don't know. I don't get it.
No, and that's going to be their downfall. I mean, that I kind of tell it like it is, and I've been around these guys for a long time. So you've also got on the other side, there's a whole bunch of show poultry people that don't want nothing to do with cockfighting. Yeah. So you got that, you're already butting up against that. Well, and you've got a whole bunch of show people that love Old English and, American games and modern games and all that stuff. And so you've got to also think about that part of it.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm sorry, I got to interrupt because I'm excited about this. Okay, long time ago, before I started at the Breeders' Academy, you're right. The game fowl guys went and talked to domestic chicken people. The domestic chicken people went and talked to the game fowl people. It was like they were in separate camps, and they didn't even look at themselves as the same in any way. Well, since I started the Breeders' Academy and started this show, and we even have a Facebook group page, I've got our members, which I've taught over 1,200 members at this point, okay, from the Breeders' Academy. I've got the game fowl talking and helping the domestic and the domestic chicken people, helping and talking to the game fowl people. So it's getting better, that part's getting better.
That's a good thing. Yeah. For anybody trying to do this, that's a good thing. And I think this time in history is better than the last time they tried to present it, because I know just from sitting in meetings back then, that there was a certain chunk of them that were totally against it, regardless of whether you met the standard or not. You were never going to get it voted in then. Now I think a lot of them are gone, and I don't think that's going to be a big issue if they can get that consistency and alignment with the breeders. That'll be the 2 big things. They got to be consistent, and you got to have the clubs aligned to get this going.
You want to know how hard that's
any of that infighting there?
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, Mike, Matt, go to any of these farms, and they're supposed to have strains and families and bloodlines. None of their birds look alike. Yep. They're all different. They have so many contrasting characteristics They have pea combs, straight combs. They have light red, dark red. They've got dirty grays. They don't even have good silver duck wings. And they've got off colors. They've got type, confirmation, station, and carriage all over the board. Nothing, hardly any of them look good. But that's why we create the Breeders' Academy too, is to get people to understand the true makeup of the bird and then create true strains that actually represent the breed. Yeah.
It's
Well, it sounds like Kenny needs to be running this thing to get him in.
Well,
he's trying,
There you go. The thing is, I mean, something really simple, like leg color.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've stepped into whatever's being showed for either Old English in large file or a non-standard right now, and it's American. There's 3 cockbirds and there's 3 different leg colors.
Yeah.
It's like, well, which one's right? Because none of them are what the standard of perfection they're not there. That's really a nice bird.
And hence
it is not what you say it is.
Yeah.
A lot of times with these non-standard breeds, when we get to that class, unless they present us with a written standard, we're just picking chickens at that point because we don't have no clue what they're supposed to look like. And evidently neither do they if they got 3 different,
No, that's the thing. They don't,
Let me ask you guys this. They say on Facebook, there's social media, they have a negotiation made by the APA. Are they overselling it?
I don't know.
I talked to the standard committee chairman yesterday, or Saturday? No, Sunday.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. I guess. Well, it was Sunday was we was leaving. They have not talked to him at all, so I don't know who they're dealing with. He thinks they're doing like a pre-presentation before they come to him, and he didn't have a clue because there was a snippet I got. I don't know why I get all this stuff, but I get a lot of things, and I got this thing about the peacock and the white and the tail and different leg color.
I told you I judged some, and they handed me a standard, and I said, well, this doesn't even go by what's your standard. And he said, well, yeah, it's got to have a peak comb. I said, one has a peak comb. It's not really a peak comb. The other ones have single combs, shitty single combs, but they have single combs. I said, so what do we want? And I said, now, if you're going to make an American game, and you're going to call it American game, and the American game bantams are already in there, you really got to have your stuff together to present why your large fall American games are not the same as the bantam American games.
Yeah.
But first,
from my knowledge, they haven't talked to the APA at all.
No.
Or they haven't talked to who they needed to talk to, because you would want to go, even the officers have nothing in this. This goes to the
he's saying maybe it's badly written post and they meant that it's decided within the club.
That could be, and they can do that. I mean, they have to get their stuff together before they go talk to Mike Wazakowski. He's the standard committee chairman, who's a very good guy and very open-minded. But
is he the deciding factor?
No. Here's the deal. So when you present a breed, you presented it. I think that they're a little different than what we are, but you got 2 presentations they have to pass. They have like a pre-presentation where they go over them and tell you if you're doing all right or not, and then you have the final one. But even if the presiding judge that does that qualification, even if he passes it and the committee passes it, the APA board has to vote on whether they go in the standard or not. So not only do you have to get over those 2 humps, you got that big hump with the board, because if somebody on the board doesn't want it and there's enough of them, they can pass and still not get in the standard. So you have to, when we've done this many times, you have to really have all your ducks in a row and know what you're doing when you get to that point. And you can't be like scattergunning it, like I think what's happening now, because that won't fly. They'll tell you flat out, don't waste your money.
It's almost like they have the opinion they're just going to automatically be entered just because.
No, that's not the way that. Yeah. I tell you what happened years ago. It was a little easier, and these people got all these breeds and varieties in, and then they disappeared after they got them in. And that pissed off the board to no end. That you went through all this stuff to get it. Well, I'll put out, for example, black crested white Polish. There was a guy in Wisconsin that pushed them. pushed them, showed hundreds of them, got them in, and you couldn't find one in the country today. I don't think that even resembles. So they got real reluctant, tightened up the qualifications. I mean, you got to have 50 birds now. So it's a tough thing to do, especially with people with big waterfowl and ducks and even large fowl. It's hard to get 50 of them that look alike. You know, in the ABA, it's 25. That's tough enough, but the qualifications are a lot tighter, and they've got a rough road to hoe, I think, unless they got their
Let me tell you one more thing on that is whoever the club is, whatever they're doing, whatever they're trying, keep your laundry off of Facebook.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because
when
if I'm on the board, if I'm the president of the ABA, and I see all this bickering back and forth, this one and that one, and they're not really the same club, but kind of no, I don't care. It means that you're not ready because you can't even decide in your breed that you're trying to get and you're in love with and you want them recognized. Great. But if you guys can't decide and you're fighting among yourselves, what the hell?
Which is going to make it worse because if you even get a bird in there, they're all going to fight on what the right bird is, you know?
Yeah,
so.
And then they're going to have, we're going to have this club and we're going to have that club, folks.
You know what the biggest obstacle is not only do you have the right people, have to have the right people to do this, which you don't. You have to have the right birds to do it, which you don't. They look at American games differently than most people. They break them down into names that don't even exist, like Hatch and Kelso and Sweater and all these different names that they don't mean anything.
Strain names, they're old
strain names from a long time ago that weren't really strains in the first place. Which, when you look at all their different birds, they say, "Oh, mine's a Hatch. Oh, mine's a Hatch." They all look different completely, you know. So they all, like you said, they all have to work together. Otherwise, this isn't gonna work. Well, they don't understand the bird, and they're stuck on names, which guides their selection as well. They can pick a really crappy bird just because it has a name.
And they'll want to say, well, this goes back to whatever. It's like, no kidding. I mean, they did that for years. They did that for years, you know. They said, well, this horse goes back to Man of War. It's like, yeah, no shit. But that doesn't mean anything, you know.
They had 10,000.
How many generations ago was that?
Yeah.
So it's just, that whole thing, even on our side, it just drives me nuts. I'll think,
I'm so glad.
Once you get those birds from me or Matt and you breed them, guess whose strain that is?
That's yours. Yeah.
Now you may say, I got my original stock from.
That's right.
Okay, I understand that. That's cool.
Even him or I'll have birds for a while and I get stuck or he gets stuck. I said, here, take these. And he does different things than I do.
Yeah.
And if he's got usually I always make males. So if he ain't got very good males, take these. My males suck. And I'll have a better male line than a female, vice versa with them. I said, well, the hens ain't looking so good. You need to take these and work on the female side of it.
It has changed a little bit because we've become dominant in males some damn way. But that whole thing, the whole thing is when you, and that, listen, this is going to probably piss off a lot of people on my side if they're watching.
I'm good at that.
Okay. So,
so are we.
In Old English and modern game bantams, okay, they'll say this is a male breeder and this is a female.
Oh, double mating. Oh my God. Oh, I got to talk to you guys about that. Okay.
So here's the deal. I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Now, here's why I think it, except for color. I understand color. Okay? Because if you mate, we'll take BB red, black-breasted reds. It is hard to get really good males of color and really good females, which there aren't a whole lot of anyway, of color. I understand that. But type is type.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we can take the same birds. I'll guarantee it. Well, that used to be, probably isn't now, probably all be males. But Matt and Black Wyandottes, Matt always won with males. Always. He'd have a female every now and then. I got those birds. It wasn't long, and I've done it with brown red Old English. Remember, I got a big male strain from
Randall
Brown. He said, these are male strains. That's what I want. I'm sick of breeding females. In 2 years, I was winning everywhere with females. Have no clue how I did it. But my eye, evidently, that is what I predominate. Now, when I did it in Black Wyandottes, he run in males. I won always in females. But when I did win him with a male, you couldn't beat him. But my eye goes to that. Evidently, that's the way I breed. Now, that's not necessarily the strain, because someone else could take him. He could take him right back, and in a year or so, the males are winning again.
See, what you're talking about, though, is BB Reds, which actually do breed true. They'll produce themselves for the most part. But what I'm worried about is if you look at standard, a lot of the birds in the standard don't breed true. They have to be double mated to get the colors that you need.
Exactly.
How are they in the standard in the first place?
Well, they went in, I'll take, because one of my favorite colors, and I've specialized in years, is partridge. And partridge has been in since 1876. You cannot get good partridge. You can get okay birds out of the same mating. But if you want to get the ones that go to the top, you got male breeders and you got female breeder. And that's just the way it is. Silver penciled. There's several colors that way. And yeah, you can get marginal birds out of the same pair. They're showable. But even with BBs, like he was talking about, that female color on a BB with the stippling and no shafting, you're not going to get that out of male line breeders, because they're going to all be shafted and the stippling is going to be for crap. So I guess the finer points for color, I still agree with him on type. They all got to have the same type. That's not a negotiable. Even if it ain't no good in color, it better have good type, or you're going to have bad birds on the male side. But that female color in silver duckwing and BB, any duckwing bird, is you almost got to double mate it, because the bird that produces that female is not the bird that's a show male.
And even in silver laced.
Yep.
In silver laced Wyandottes, truthfully, and I know a breeder that breeds large fowl, and he thinks I'm absolutely nuts, but I know it works, because we've known really top silver laced Wyandotte breeders for years, large fowl and bantam. But the male and females, yeah, you'll get some, but you'll lean one way or the other by the way you put them together. The female breeders, if you get a silver laced Wyandotte male, which may be Greek to some people, all right, and it's mostly hen feathered, you can't show him because he's got laced wing bows. Oh baby, that's going to throw the females for you. And if you don't, they wonder where all that mossiness and all that stuff comes from. That's because the male with the striping and the correct wing bows, it's real hard to breed good females out of those males. Will you get some now and then? Hell yeah. You get weird stuff. I mean, you could be, I've had this thing for 10 years, and how the hell did this chicken come out of there? That's because nothing is pure. Nothing. I mean, they all come from jungle fowl. Well, what the hell? A jungle fowl doesn't look like anything else. No,
if you don't purposely select them, they will revert to something else all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
they never stay with it.
The partridge color, the BB red color. I mean, that's basically a base color, and it's in everything. The gold is in everything. So, I mean, that's where you have to become the creator. You are the painter. You are the one that decides what that's going to be. That's your creativity.
And I think you hit a point there that's a good one to make, Kenny and Mike. We breed for phenotype. So if it looks this way, okay, that's the problem, because I've learned, and you can have all the genetics books in the world, but I tell him this, until you put them two damn chickens together, you have no clue. And we have been in different breeds of the same color. We've had different results. And until you make that test mating, you have no idea what you got. That's and right. Once you do that, then we can kind of, and like I said, I'm no book genetic, BBs. That's all
offspring
mumbo
will
jumbo.
tell you everything you want to know about the parents every time. You got to breed them and find out what they have.
You got to put them together.
Yeah.
We've crossed blacks and whites together 5 million times and never got in different breeds and never got the same thing, because you don't know what's behind that other bird until you do that.
My biggest problem with double mating is that when you need a certain color from the female to produce a male and a certain color from the male to produce a female, then you really don't have a family. You don't have a strain. There's no way
you
to
have
perfect
two
that.
families.
Yeah,
well, two separate families.
I know. I don't like that, and then think about it too. I only know a few people that understand double mating can do it properly. Most people struggle with it.
Oh yeah.
Most of them in our hobby aren't that way. They're one or the other. How many people do you know, Mike, that have male line BBs and female line BBs at the same place? Because you can't do it, because you're going to mess up and put this one with that one. And then you got to, so they either are one or the other on this side. So we have a friend that raises gorgeous blue Wheatons, never shows the male. He dubs the males, but never dubs the lobes and wattles. So you can see they got white lobe. They don't have white lobes, never shows a male, and his males aren't that bad, but his females will knock you down. But that's all he wants to do is raise blue Wheaton females.
It's
and
like
he does a great job.
The American Games, let's see, what do we got? We got like the red pile. Now the blood piles, they do reproduce themselves for the most part, but red piles don't reproduce themselves. Golden duckwings don't reproduce themselves, but yet they're in the standard. Yeah. There's all kinds of varieties like that.
And that came with the good old blue dilution gene. So blue Andalusians don't reproduce themselves.
That's right.
Down to it. You're going to get all these wasters. And then, as we get these pretty colored birds and they get in, then you have and we have to go through that spiel every time they buy them, is that you're going to get, a quarter of this and a quarter of that. And we rant and rave that if you want to raise good blacks, don't have any blues, because when you raise blues, you need to keep those blacks from blues to put back in those blues, because they carry the lacing gene. The first thing I want to do is go out and buy a show black and that's got red behind it and throw it in there. And then guess what they got? Brassy blues. And we preached that for 25, 30 years. And I learned it from an old Andalusian guy. And, you have to put that splash of black together every once in a while to keep the lacing. and the only reason Andalusians have good lacing is that they ain't got nothing else to cross them with. They have to stay within that breed, because there's no other color of Andalusian but blue. And we preach that often him and I have a love-hate relationship with blue. So we've had some very good ones.
I don't like breeding because I can't perfect.
We had very good ones, and I've raised a million awful ones. So, and everybody thinks it's easy, and it's not.
No.
Okay, here's one. And we talked a little bit about this in the back end before we got on, is a debate between beauty and utility. Back in the day when the standard first started, the birds were bred for utility and function, and now we've kind of moved away from that. It's all about the prettiness of the bird. Yeah, have we went in the wrong direction with that, or
it was in the wrong direction before we ever started? So that
I agree. Yeah.
So it was when in the 40s when they went commercial poultry, and so the exhibition guys tried to hang on, but they were just breeding for pretty chickens until they got to the point where they couldn't breed no more pretty chickens. And then they had to go back and focus on productivity and utility. Don Schrader is the great guy for that, because that's always been one of his focuses, and his birds will be productive. The problem with our hobby is you got such a narrow gene pool of some breeds and varieties that you have no choice but to work with what's there and then select for that, select for egg quality, select for depth of body, and work your way out of it. Now, we call it the 5-year rule. If you've been doing something for 5 years, usually you're pretty much there and you're going to keep doing it. But too many people get in these rare breeds and varieties and are in there about 2 years and realize they got all these problems that are not having any success, and they're gone. So, very dedicated. Josh Torillo from Texas with the mottled Houdan Bantams, which were almost extinct, has done that. He's went back and raised a bunch of crap and sorted out every year, raised several hundred and keep 2 or 3, and brought them up to where they're actually a presentable bird.
Yes,
but there's just not enough people dedicated to do that. And our book is full of breeds that need work, but there's a handful of people that could ever do it, I guess, is the issue.
Well,
we work
when they try to help whatever, buff coaching bantams, let's take, because we've been doing that thing forever. All right. So, or I'm going to say silver laced. Here's one. This probably hit somebody. Silver laced. So silver laced coaching bantams are no better, maybe worse than they were when I had them in 1973. Okay. Because what you have to do, and people don't seem to either understand, grasp, or don't care, is you have to find an ally. In this case, I've seen it done with a really nice Colombian colored female. Okay. And you take a silver lace male on top. Now it's going to take you.
Yep. Here's the hitch.
Five generations. And the first generation, you'll want to stick your head in a bucket because you'll think, oh my, I've got spangle. And there's not even a spangle. I got the spangle thing. What did Danny Feathers tell me? Mikey, you've made Skittles.
Skittles,
you know,
Skittles.
But some of those Skittles, what else is embossed, the Skittles, but they were absolutely tremendous type. Color of, you just name a color, baby, and it's in there. So your job is to refine that, to make the matings back that will clear up and raise a bunch of them, a whole bunch of them. But that's a 5 generations. And by the 5th generation, if you're not better typed than you were, it's not going to work. You have to start over. It's that fortitude to stick with it, not say, whoa.
It's a 5-year rule. I said it. I'll give you an example while we're on project. So a few years ago, I've raised white Chanticleer bantams, and they're pretty decent. And they will probably, I got a good start. So, kind of got them refined where I wanted, but I wanted partridge and buff because they weren't very good. So I crossed a partridge rock male onto a white Chanticleer female, and I crossed a buff Chanticleer male onto that same white Chanticleer female that was really good. This is the 5th generation. I finally got to where there was some showable birds, and I had best of breed last weekend on one of the shows on one of those, by God. But
congratulations.
Yeah, it's just, you got to have that dedication to keep doing it. And most people will quit after 1 or 2 years. Now, that was a good project. On the flip side, the buff project was just god awful. So that buff and white produced everything but a buff. It produced Colombian. It produced a pure blacks. It produced whites. It produced all. So I have no clue what was behind that buff. It had all kinds. I know what's behind the whites. The whites are carrying bards. I even got Creole birds out of that buff white cross. So that one, I had nothing out of the first 2 generations that I could even use back on. So I kind of scrapped that project, but I kept the partridge one going. So that's the problem. Most of people are going to do these things, but a 5-10 year project, who's going to do it? They want it now. It's kind of that immediate gratification.
As far as the utility and function, did it kind of go away when we came up with the Cornish cross and the, hybrid layers and all that?
I think the turning point? I hate that Cornish cross word because my good friend Neil Grassball has been in the commercial industry his whole life. His dad ran a turkey hatchery. They did that in the 30s. They ain't neither one of them birds seen a Cornish or a rock since the 30s.
I believe that.
So, my daughter worked for Tyson for 5 years. Those birds, they're genetically patented, and we was actually able to get some broiler breeders, but there's 4 lines of broiler breeders so that whole hybrid thing, it gets the production. It gets a bird that finishes out in 6 to 7 weeks. On the layer side, we could never get the production out of any of the standard bred birds that you get out of there's 10 million names for it, but there's about 3 companies that make them. And Mike and I picked up for the hatchery there. We picked at the Eagle's Nest hatchery. We picked up a whole van load of eggs, and he brought me a few chicks. Those things are amazing. The way they grow, the way they're born sexed, and They lay a big old double yolk looking egg. And you can't, for the feed conversion and all that, there's no way you can redo all that science in the standard bred poultry. We're kind of deluding ourselves, but you can breed for decent productivity.
Yes.
I've had told him one year I had Partridge Wyandottes. They laid 4 eggs. I had 4 chicks. I had 3 best of shows and 1 reserve of show out of those chicks. But who wants to raise a bird that lays 4 eggs a year? There's no productivity there. So then you have to go back out and work that in. So I think we're never going to get to the point of the commercial birds, but like Don says, you need birds that are productive.
I'm just wondering if we lost the function of the bird, all these breeds we have, because they didn't breed for it, because they have the Cornish. I understand what you mean by what we call Cornish cross, and then the commercial egg layers. So we didn't need them to produce that egg and meat. We became show, and then it disappeared. I'm just wondering if the turning point was the discovery of those.
It was in the 40s, I think. If you go back, and I've got a lot of the APA literature, and they still were kind of commercial show then. And I think the 40s and late 50s, maybe, or late 40s, early 50s, they kind of turned to where they were no longer looking at the standard bred birds.
Because they even changed the language in the standard on that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you can talk to Neil Grass. He'll tell you dual purpose bird he hates that word, because there was never no such thing. They either were meat or eggs. There was no dual purpose. But you got to think, in those times, you had a flock of chickens in the backyard. You didn't go to the store and buy Tyson boneless breasts or boneless chicken breasts like we do now. You went out on Sundays, we went out in the backyard, grabbed a rooster, killed it, and ate it. And that was god awful in my mind. Everybody, it has flavor in my butt. That was an old gamey chicken that we didn't want no more. So I think the consumer shaped what we were going to eat as far as eggs. There in the 70s, nobody wanted brown eggs. They all wanted white eggs. So even then, the hybrid crosses were all Leghorns. It was DeKalb and all those big companies. You go to the grocery store, get your white eggs. Nobody knew what a brown egg was. When we first started, selling brown eggs, everybody looked at you like you was crazy. Now they're fairly popular. They was always popular in Europe. They didn't want white eggs. So I think the market trends kind of took us clear out of it as far as what standard bred poultry were originally designed for.
I think in standard bred poultry, the downfall was when it was no longer economically feasible back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. People made their living with standard exhibition poultry. They still had to have production because they needed a lot of eggs. They sold a lot of chicks. They sold a lot of eggs. They sold a lot of birds. They showed a lot of birds. So when that was in vogue, they needed that. All right. So you come up, maybe it was the hybrids had come up, the hybrid layers. What the demand and the bottom fell out about World War II, probably. The bottom fell out of the guys that made their living. They were professional poultrymen. The Thompsons, the big Reds, the big Pioneer Farm Leghorns and stuff. So they didn't need that. Then they went to smaller matings. Smaller matings means less of a gene pool. Less of a gene pool, but you're still selecting for the ones that meet the standard. And they didn't have to lay 250 eggs a year. What the hell are you going to do with 250? You have no market. So, you kind of let it go, and pretty soon you're with a Leghorn that has no depth of body and no length of body. Therefore, there's nowhere for a damn egg to even go. So maybe you get 100, maybe you get 100.5. But you keep selecting that way instead of for production, because then production birds, hey, they're big old raw-bodied birds, a lot of them. They really lay. Well, yeah, but they're not the standard. We can't win with it. And I think that might be where that whole thing, it just kind of snowballed.
Go ahead.
It came to the condition that they're in today.
what I see when you describe it like that is breeders who select for one trait at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of breeding for the complete package, which just means you have to hatch a lot of chicks so you have a better selection. Yeah, you're not going to breed to all of them. You're going to breed to a small number, but that small number is going to be what advances the family.
Yes.
And if you're breeding for the complete package, you actually will get there. But yeah, I think they run into problems like that when they're only breeding for one trait. And in this
Exactly.
case, yeah. So, but you were talking about eggs. Here's another one: egg color versus bird quality. I'm always worried and I'll tell you what the experience I went through is that they're breeding so much for the egg quality they're losing the bird in some cases. Okay, now I was going to buy some well summers, and everybody kept directing me to one breeder on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. I don't want to say names, so I called the one on the East Coast and I asked her, "What do you got?" And she says, "Yeah, I've got well summers. I got them from this particular person. I've had them for this many years. This is how I've bred them." But the only thing I ask everybody this is, what's your common defects? What do you see the most? And she goes, "Well, I get white in the wings." I go, "Oh, okay, interesting." So then I call the one on the West Coast and I said, "What do you got?" She told me, I mean, they're pretty honest with me and everything. She told me what she had. She told me, and that they're pretty good birds overall. She's had them for a little while. I said, "What kind of defects do you get?" She goes, "I get white in the wings." I go, "Is this a common problem with the well summers?" And she goes, "Well, not really. I didn't have white in the wings until I borrowed a cock from a friend of mine, which happened to be the person on the East Coast,
on the West,
to improve egg color." So she introduced a deleterious or harmful gene that ruined her family just to try to improve egg color. So what I'm seeing is, to get the egg colors that they're looking for, they're doing a lot of outcrossing, introducing a lot of problems just to get the egg color and to ruin the breeds at the same time.
Oh, exactly. And I think you and I would put more thought into our breedings than what 98% of the people do.
Yeah.
So most people that get into this, like I said, we got that 5-year rule, but even some that's been in a long time, there's not all that thought going into it. You say they're working on one fold at a time instead of, and I guess you'd have to have some really bad chickens to have to work on more than one fold at a time. And I have, and so is Mike. So I think it's that one fault. We're going to improve one thing per year mentality. And you're looking at a real small pool. So they're raising, maybe if they raise 50 chicks, that's a big one. And so you know what your percentage of good ones coming out of that is. And if it all goes south, then just scrap the whole year. So, and
you do
a
sometimes.
lot of them have the first thing they want to jump to is like, and I've heard you talk about this before, but the first thing they want to jump to is an outcross, when maybe they should be selecting more from within and narrowing down. I always say most of the people in this hobby make way too many matings. And he can tell you, I make very few. If I have one or two, this year I have 6, and that's very rare, but they're 6 very close. You know, they all look alike. There's no difference in it, but most people make way too many matings. They breed from everything that's going to lay an egg and then hope for the best and have a poor record keeping system. So the serious breeders are very few and far between.
Yeah.
There's people that raise chickens, but there's very few really serious people in breeding, in my opinion.
You talk about the 5-year rule, and I agree with that in many ways. I have a program that I use on the Breeders' Academy for my members. It's called the Founders Program. And we have the Adam and Eve stage where you're getting your seafowl, basically. And a lot of times they're not even related, okay? But you can, if you understand the genetics, you understand the traits, you understand the genetic factors of those traits, and you match them up properly, you gain a lot of progress. And then we have the cleanup process, which helps you get into the foundation stage where you fine tune them, you know. And so that 5-year rule is a big one for me too. I believe that if you think you're going to create a strain in a year, 2, 3, no, it's not going to happen at all.
Yep. We get so many people want a new color or a new color variety that needs some work, and that's what they think they're going to make 1 mating or 2 matings and they're done. And I learned the hard way. I mean, I learned the hard way with that myself. And I think the white cochins, when we took those over, and that was his fault, because I complained about how bad they were when I'm judging them. They had bred the yellow right out of them, and they were white beaked, white skinned, white legged, and I was cussing. And he says, "Well, why don't you fix them?" Well, 14 years later, we're a master exhibitor, but it took a lot of different birds. And you talk about, doing the outcrosses and taking one from here, and I'd find the parts that I want, and then some of it worked, some of it didn't. But there's lots of breeders.
If you understand,
yeah, a lot of breeders helped us. And what do you want that one for? Don't, never mind. Just how much do you want for it?
Gene shopping works, but you just can't grab any bird, and you got to breed them in the right orders too, because you're going to eliminate some dominant traits you might want, so
you also, and I still like, I mean, and we've helped a lot of people out, and a lot of people has helped us out. So they're in there, but I'm still not opposed. If I'm out somewhere and I find usually a hen or a female that has got something that I think we need, I will get that hen. And you start slow, you pick out the male you think and you see, and maybe it takes 2 or 3 years before it's like, yep, I can put that in now. So you gotta, there are no quick fixes. Nope. It may appear after the first year, you may hit it and you'll win everywhere. Then the next thing is breed it. See how that thing reproduces, because there are freaks. They've been bred so long, there's a shot that you can take 2 black cochins that are absolutely horrendous. And if you breed them long enough, a good one will pop out because it's in there. But I'm not that guy.
But you also have to know if it's in there. It could pop up. Yeah. You could miss it because you don't know the breed,
Exactly. You have to know. You have to have that idea in your head of what you're looking for. And you have to have that. And every once in a while, everybody buys these standards and stuff. It'd be a really good idea if you read that damn thing.
Yeah.
More than the first time you got it. This goes for judges and everything. It'd be a nice idea if you committed yourself, I don't care, let's just say once a year to get started. How about cracking that damn thing open? How about the one that you're breeding? I don't care if you're winning. How about cracking it open and go, oh shit, that isn't right.
Often when we're judging our question to somebody, because invariably they want to ask the judge a breeding question. Okay, if it's something I bred or have bred, I can help you a little bit. But if something I have no clue about, then I'm just picking a showbird today. I can't help you with breeding. I'll point them to the person that can. But so often I'll come up and say, now, have you read your standard? Well, what's that? Yeah. So they're raising these chickens and they have no clue what they're doing. And they're running from show to show, wanting the judge to sort their birds for them. And you know how it is at game fowl. It's the same in arbor. You go to 10 shows, you're going to get 10 different opinions on the same bird.
That's right. You see that online too. And I'll talk to people and go, what's a standard? What's a standard? Oh, we have a standard? I mean, they have no clue,
I laugh. Years ago, an old Barred Rock guy, and he was known for his Barred Rock Bantams. He was a very good breeder, very good judge, but he would go to a friend of mine's house on one week and call the birds, and then come back about a month or 2 later and then tell him to keep the birds that he told him to call the last time that he was there. So you have to take all that with a grain of salt, and you're always better to go straight to a breeder that's got some experience with the breed than you are to go to a judge. And I'm a judge. I can say that. Don't ask me how to raise silkies because I'm not the guy. But if you've got something that I've had or know something about, I'll help you all I can. But if you say silkies, I'm sending you to the silky people because that's not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing I wonder is that some of the judges aren't as honest as you are. And they like that prestige. I'm a judge and I'm going to tell you everything I know. And if I don't know it, I'm just going to bullshit my way through it because
that may be an element, but in the American Poultry Association, and I'm sure there are some of those, a lot of them I met are really good people and really good judges, know their
really
stuff.
Good people.
Yeah.
And most of them are specialty breeders. So and we go to this judging thing just because there's either a lack of them or they have some passion to lose money every weekend. So they go get their judge's license. But I don't think we don't have the old stringmen, that raised everything or had everything that you can go reference with. So that's kind of the downside to it. But I always tell him, and I hated it before I was a judge, I don't like somebody that don't raise birds anymore. because when you don't have birds anymore, then you're critical of everything because you're not out there slopping shit in the middle of the winter and doing whatever. So I don't like people that don't have birds anymore. As long as you still got some attachment to it, you have some consideration for looking for those good things and not just all the bad things. So
gotta have skin in the game, baby. You gotta have some skin in the game.
I would say
get out of the
there
game.
there were some good judges years ago, and there were some bad ones back in those days too. But I think overall, I think you've got a pretty good bunch that if they got, and you usually just ask around and they'll tell you who to go to for advice. And I don't think anybody's going to steer you wrong on something they don't know about.
We don't have that in American games. Very few are good judges. Very few understand the bird. Very few. They're just, Tony's one of them. I feel like I'm one of them. I can think of a couple others, but most people who are out there judging shows for American games have no idea what they're doing. It's sad.
And that's a shame because you have one type. We have 400 that we have to know and judge. So you would think that you would have a higher percentage of them that, we all have we talk about it often on our show about our strengths and weaknesses and things you'd rather judge and rather not judge. But at the end of the day, it's a show bird and we have the standard and we're going to apply it to our best of ability. Are we the greatest at some things? No, but there's some stuff we're really good at too. So and that's usually how you get hired. A lot of the show secretaries know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And the exhibitors do too. And they kind of point the show secretary to who they want where.
We have any questions, Nancy, from the chat?
Okay, let's see.
You guys are great. I love interviewing pros who podcast too. They know how it all works. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You guys got to come up more often.
Yeah, we get windy. That's the problem.
No, it's fine.
No, this is great.
It's all interesting stuff, so.
Well, here's one question that I have. What are the benefits of having a double show?
So you get double the points for most people. You get
what do those points mean?
Well, they won't buy a bag of chicken feed, but we have points in all the breed clubs and in the APA. They have points programs that go towards like master exhibitor. You get so many points, you're a master exhibitor. Then if you get so many points in one breed or variety, you get master of that. And so a lot of them, that's over a time. You have to do it. I think in the ABA, it's at least 5 years, and then it can go out however long you want to go. I know it took us 14 years to do it in white coach and bantams when you're only showing 3 or 4 shows a year. So, and that's not our motivation. We always could give a hoot about points, but that's a big motivator for a lot of the new people. They want them points. And if they win it on Sunday and it ain't posted up on Monday, they're having a fit. That's my joke with our secretary a lot. So she's really good about getting them as quick as she can. That's it. Mostly I would say the points program is what they go for, or prestige to win a show. It's to me, I told him I'd never expect anything, and then I'm never disappointed. And I told him even like last weekend, anything can happen. So you win sometimes when you shouldn't, and you lose sometimes when you should have won. And if you can't get that in your head and get over it, you're never going to make it very long.
No, here's something funny. Is we have people in the chat, they can sense that we're starting to wrap it up and they're saying, keep going, this is great. They don't want us to stop.
Well, yeah, because we're almost at 2 hours. But here's my question.
We broke our own record, Mike.
Yes, we did.
We can go for 3 hours here. Which, I'm married to an Italian, so, he can talk.
That's like me. I'm not Italian, but I'm Irish German. I talk about
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
You tied the hands. I'm down here doing this.
Yeah,
I'm holding my hands like this, so I'm doing the same thing, I'd be slapping my mic and everything.
Is it? I mean, that's got to be a lot more work for you guys when you're doing a double show like that.
It is.
Well, you got double the judges. The poor
okay.
secretary is the one that you got double the judges. So it's like 2 shows and 2 separate shows, although they're all together. The advantage to the fancier is they go to one place, one hotel room. It's less expensive. They got really popular for the shows because they make twice the money. Hopefully. But now we see, I think there's one in Texas.
A
breeder and exhibitor. So it kind of goes, when you start, they'll give you points. And when you get so many points, you're a master exhibitor. So you could show several different things, or you could show the same thing. But to be a master breeder, like in the ABA, you have to have 20 starred wins. So that means you have to win in a class of 100 birds or more, which is saying something normally. And that could be best of breed or best of show or best of class. It just remembers the number of birds behind it. The APA is set up a little different with their points schedule, but it takes you at least 5 years for to be a master breeder. And it's relative. I hate that term because I know people that have master breeder titles that can't breed shit. And I know people that have never had a title that were who I consider master breeders. So it's kind of just it's kind of like that ribbon you win at the soccer game, you hang it on the wall, go on. So if you want to go buy from a master breeder, you better make sure he's really a master breeder. And
because I can name you several breeders, which I won't, master breeders that have made all those wins with one, maybe two chickens over a period of 5 years.
Is that right?
It's a really good one, and maybe they bought it. I know where they bought one.
Here's a better one. Or show 100 birds and you get your points. So 100 birds times $8 per show times 20 shows. My God, you spent a fortune to get that little.
Yeah, but they're master breeders.
But they're master breeders.
Whatever floats your boat, baby. Whatever you got to tell yourself to get yourself through a day, that's okay. We don't do that shit because they're chickens.
They we're kind of surprised when they come in the mail if we do get one. Yeah. So it's not like
hey, damn, look at that, we're a master breeder. Yeah.
and like say we're doing 4 or 5 shows a year. There's people that show 25 or 30 shows a year just to get that.
Wow.
Some breeds are worse than others.
Yeah. When we went to the Paris show, I think, Mike, you donated a pair, right?
Yeah.
What was that you donated?
Well, we did more than that. We donated a pair of white Chanticleers, and we donated a pair of
big black Cochins. Or Bantam Cochins?
I think they were black Cochin Bantams.
Yeah, we took them to Arkansas. It was kind of the story about all those donated birds to Jim. So we took them to Arkansas, and then they went from Arkansas to California, and then they went to Northern California, and Jim had to get them back down into Southern California. But I know the lady that got the white Chanticleers, which come from me, and I promised those, and I really didn't want to sell them. But she went out there and whipped all the Chanticleer breeders on the West Coast with those birds. So she made me feel good. And then she ended up losing one of them because they're horrible for Merrick's. And she knew that going in. And I told them going in, I said, they can be fine one day and dead the next. There's no warning. And we worked on that over the years. I wouldn't even let them go for that reason. I wouldn't even let them go, but they're better now. That's our big disease in the show chickens is Merrick's is devastating.
Yeah.
And they either have it or they don't. It's that some birds are immune to it. Some birds are horrible for it.
Yep.
Sometimes in the same breed, like my partridge, never get it. The whites, they would die. The first year I had them, I raised 90 chicks and 89 of them died.
I had a family
of left, and I bred the hell out of her because she survived.
I had a family of blues. I kept losing over half the offspring every year.
Yep.
I just got tired of it.
Well, speaking of that, Barb is saying that the entire southern part of Wisconsin is banned from chicken shows due to the avian flu.
Right. It's a thing that state vets tend to do, and it's probably just totally useless because if we were spreading avian influenza, every bird at a show would be dead.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So, but it's a good PR hit to say we're shutting down all the 4-H shows and the fairs and blah, blah, blah.
If they had avian influenza, they would never make it to the show, period.
Right. And for avian influenza, when there's wild ducks and geese that carry that stuff and wild birds, starlings are horrible for it, and raptors and flying over your place every day and could crap in your yard and you could get it right there. So it's a good PR thing.
Yeah.
But as far as actually helping anything,
doesn't do anything.
When it hits, usually it's commercial flocks who are biosecure supposedly, and it gets in there. They have no immunities, and they just kill them all. Yeah. What they should probably do, in Matt's mind, I'm sure they're not taking my advice, but let one of those flocks go and see what lives, and then breed like hell out of the ones that live.
That would be the idea, breed to resistance, but that's a pretty dangerous virus.
Oh
So.
yeah, you're all in on that one because I was talking to a
Uh-huh.
guy this weekend, so I don't know if you've ever had laryngotracheitis, but
No,
back in the
don't want it.
70s, that was our nightmare. And you could go to a show and somebody had laryngo, and you come home, and then within a week, everything you have is dead. And if I'd have been smart, I would have quit the 2 times that I got it and got wiped out. But they've got vaccines now, and it's not as bad as it used to be. But that used to be just what I would say it was worse than what Merrick says now, because you had no survivors. They'd start coughing and throwing blood on the wall, and they're done. And so we've had these diseases over the years, Newcastle bronchitis and coryza, all this stuff. It kind of runs in cycles, but this avian influenza's hung on, and I don't think they're going about the right way by shutting us down, but it looks good. And some states are even worse. I mean, some states want you to have a 14-day test before you can show there. Well, hell, we can't get them done in 14 days. So, that's their limit. So they wall everybody out, and Maryland, I think Delaware's that way, Virginia, and they've just about devastated it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've devastated those shows. Ohio, we haven't always had our God bless his soul, he's dead now, but Claude Egler was our head of the Ohio Poultry Breeders Association, which was the SO faction, but he was right in there in the Ohio Poultry Association. So the exhibition side and the commercial side worked together. And if there was issues, we would voluntarily shut down. We would, okay, we're not going to have any shows because this bad thing's here and it's all over. And 2 counties south of me is the largest commercial poultry population in the world. There's laying houses, there's broiler houses, there's turkey houses, and there's billions of birds down there. And if something comes through, that's a big economic impact if they get it. And they've had it. I mean, they've had 500,000 bird laying houses that got depopulated because one of their laborers drug in some mud off of a pond or something that had avian influenza, and they start dying from it. The bad thing about high path AI is it's not like low path. High path, they're going to all die. And I've seen turkey houses where there's like 10 dead one day, 1,000 dead the next day, and the third day they're all gone. So if that stuff gets in there, they're going to be gone anyway. So that's why they depopulate a lot of those. But I think some research in Europe now is on a vaccine for high path avian AI, and I hope they make some headway, at least for the commercial side, so they can vaccinate for it and not have to worry about it. Because the wild bird population has it. And if it's in wild birds, we're not controlling it.
No, that's what I said. The only way to ever control it like that is you just kill every starling, every Canadian goose, every whatever. Well, that ain't going to happen.
Nope. No.
So, I mean, it's something that is terrible, but it's something you got to live with or just get out.
Yeah. No, it's getting worse, but we're going to have to find a way to coexist with it because, And I'm a big breed to resistance. I'm big,
me too.
Cold, sick, breed to the healthy, no matter what, Let me pull this up and let me answer this real quick. And then I'll let you guys, I'd like to see what you guys think about this too. Fox is saying breeding chickens or improving the strain is about looking for defects, not the perfection chicken. Am I right? What I would say, and this is how I do things, is I first cull the defective birds, the substandard birds, the sick birds, and then what's left, that's who I select from. And I look for the top 10% of my flock. Then I move to the standouts, and that's what I breed to. So I'm automatically culling anything that's sick, defective, or substandard right away, getting those out of the farm before I even start my selection. What do you guys think?
That's exactly
that's a great start, and it's something that we talked about with Dan Castle when he was on here. Then he started something that I did last year that is more important, I think, than all that. That's basic stuff. But he started culling for great rate of growth. So you've got rate of growth. So you got 25 chicks out of this hatch in there, and you got 2 or 3 of them that don't grow as well as the rest of them. They need to go too, because you want that fast growth. You want them all to look about the same. And I never thought about that till we had Dan on and talked about it. And I started looking in my flock. I said, well, and that cockerel over there don't look so good, except for one I kept. Mike maybe keep, but he was a slow grower, but he ended up finishing really nice.
Glad you're kept him, huh?
Yeah, that's not the case normally. They normally, if they grow or slower than the rest of your flock, they tend to not finish as nice. Nope. This bird did, but that was a rare occasion. But I started doing that too. And I think that's very important because I never paid attention to it for 50 years of the rate of growth. And now, boy, I'm out there now. I got 5 cockles in there. Which one's the smallest?
But he was using the word perfection. And I would say this before I forget is that although you will never reach perfection, but you need to strive for it, with every breeding you do. Okay.
I've never seen a perfect one. I've seen a few over the years that were, I don't know that I can make them any better than what they were, but they always have something that's not quite there.
Yep.
And it's I don't think we're ever going to reach it, but it's like the top of the mountain. You're trying to get there, whether you ever do or not.
Yeah.
If everybody could get there, it wouldn't be no fun.
Yeah.
What the hell are you going to do if you get there?
Yeah, there you go.
Where the hell else are you going to go?
And another thing we found over the years, and he'll tell you as well, is that staying on the top's a whole hell of a lot harder than getting there.
That's
so
right.
Once you get a good line going, and maybe you got this in the game birds as well. Yeah. Once you get a good line in there, and you see yourself slide, and that's horrible because how did I do that? I was up here, and now I told Louis Cunningham, who saved my butt one year. I had 2 trios of black Wyandottes, and I raised 300 chicks, and I hated every one of them. There wasn't a single bird in that batch that was any better than their parents. And he told me this, and I would have only if he told me what I've done. He says, Matt, get rid of them all. He said, put them same matings back the next year. I did. The next year, I had 2 or 3 show champions come out of the same exact birds that I mated the year before that I didn't like none of them. And so tell me how that happens.
Well, hey, I'll tell you, it's my dad always said it, and he said it in racehorses. They say, well, this is a full brother to whatever and this and that. And he'd go, yep, that's really good. Can it run? He'd say, yeah, it should because it's a full brother. And he'd say, Joe Lewis has 11 brothers. There's one Joe Lewis. And that always stuck with me. And so sometimes the idea is to have something better this year than last year. It's a slow progress. I've seen a lot of people, hell, I've done it, where you make this fantastic leap in 1 year. You think you've got it. No, it will slide the next year. You may not think so, but it did.
Well, I tell my breeders,
it's that growth. It's that slow growth, a sustainable growth, because it's impossible to make giant leaps every year. Because pretty soon where are you going to leap to?
No, what I tell my breeders is if the offspring are better than the parents, you're going in the right direction. And that's what you strive for. Yeah.
And not just 1 and 2s. So this year you bred, I don't know, let's say 40. You have 1 or 2 you really like. Okay, that's really good. Next year you should have 3, 4 that you really like. There's still going to be 1 or 2 that are the best. You know they're the best. You feel they're the best, but the other ones are close. So that means the whole strain is getting better because you have more than
consistent.
Just one. That's what you strive for, consistency. You get a consistent strain, be it whatever it is. You'll have an exceptional one pop out. Enjoy that one. Enjoy it. Show it, whatever you want to do with it. Take pictures of it. Love one.
Yeah, breed it.
Exactly, breed it, but enjoy that one because they'll be
breed it, but remember where it come from. That's if you have a good bird come out, remember you don't have poor records or you don't know how you made it. You might want to do that again.
Yeah, so I mean that's the whole idea is to progress.
Yep.
And you'll take an ass whipping every now and then. Just take it. And if you lose heart, you wasn't supposed to be in the damn thing anyway. You're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So my dad would always say, tuck your head and go ahead. Just tuck your head and go. Take your butt whipping and just go to the next time. If this is what you really want to do. And if not, hey, go raise parakeets.
Now, This goes along the lines of, yeah, I had such great birds, and oh my God, you go out there one day and like, what the hell's going on here? You start off being great at calling defects because you're seeing many defects. And as you see fewer defects, your eyes become a tad lazy on the seeing those defects, and then some creep right back in.
That is exactly true.
Watch this. We've recognized in the Breeders' Academy, Nancy, over 80 defects that we see in American games.
Yeah.
80 of them.
Yeah.
And
they'll
go on my website, they'll go on a defects course, have no idea they're defects in the first place, check them out, go out to the chickens, and they have to like cull over half of them because they didn't even know it was a defect.
Yes.
And some of those on our side are disqualifications. So that's the first thing you're looking for when you're going through. I tell him a lot of times that we've had coach and bantam so long now, when they're born and they get fluffed out and I put them in the breeder, I know the good ones. If there's 20 whites in there, I can pick out the 5 good ones from what's as a chick. On buff coachins, there ain't no way in hell. They are the ugliest looking things as chicks, and they don't get no better. And a few years ago, we won best feather leg with a buff male that I almost killed 5 times because they're that slower maturing variety of the same breed that take 8 or 9 months to get where you need to go. Where them whites and blacks, we can call them pretty, down to what we think are defects and what we're trying to prove pretty quick and at a younger age. But not buffs. Buffs, you better hang on to them because you'll sell them or give them to somebody and they'll come back and beat you because they're just a slower maturing variety of the same breed. So it's kind of relative to what you're breeding and what you're doing. It's some breeds are very easy to call and some of them are horrible to call. And I can name it. Leghorns are terrible. You have to let Leghorns grow up. And I mean, there's obvious things like you had on your list that you can get rid of them for, but overall type. And I always say a Leghorn is, Neil said it last weekend. He said, if an engineer was designing a bird, he'd design a Rhode Island Red. If an artist was designing a bird, he'd design a Leghorn. So they have a style and a station you either have it or you don't, but you don't see that right away. So you have to let them get to that point where they come into their mature feathers and they either got it or they don't they, Mike? They're either there or they're not. Then you can call them. But I think different breeds and varieties are harder to call. Some of them are easier to call, but it's your process. It's different strains are harder to call. So
And to the person's point there that said about, they creep back in, that's where it's really good to have friends that you trust
or a wife.
But even when you look at the same thing every day, and someone else looks at it, they're not seeing exactly what you see.
Yard blind.
Matt said.
Coop blind. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you get used to seeing and you just don't see it. So I can go to Matt's and he'll say something. I'll say, what about that? Well, hell, I didn't see that. Same thing happens on my birds. Hey, I'll think this is really something. What do you think? And he'll go, yeah. And I'll think, what do you mean? Yeah. Well, this and this is like, well, shit, I didn't even see it. So, I mean, that's a good thing to have that second set of eyes or third set of eyes, but you got to keep that circle real close. Because remember, not everybody wants you to succeed.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Nancy's done that to me too, where she walk out and I'm feeding the chicken. She'll look down and go, how come that one has duck tail? I go, what? Like, holy shit, but it's funny too. We have a thing we joke about where you have that one bird that you need to cull, but you don't cull. You're afraid to cull it, or you don't want to cull, or you think you might need it. Okay. And you feed it every day, and every time you feed it, it's in your mind. You could be looking at all your birds and you're walking through the yard, but you're still thinking about that one bird. And then once you cull that bird, your whole yard looks beautiful. It's like it just all of a sudden that one bird's gone. And just all of a sudden you feel like you got a strain again, from just culling that one bird.
Here's my rule, and I don't have a lot of room, so every bird has to have a purpose. So there isn't a whole lot of extra anything around. Almost everything, if it's not in the breeding pen, probably not here. Somebody else can use it or it needs to go. So I think that's a better mentality for making progress than, like I said earlier, most people make too many matings. There's some birds that shouldn't be put together, but you're just making matings to get numbers. don't do that. You're better. And Louis told me this years ago, you're better off to breed out of 1 or 2 pair than you are out of 10. And if those 2 pairs are the best you have right now, you're not going to make any progress breeding out all them other ones.
That's right.
So, and if you got limited space is always better for improving, I think, because if you got unlimited space, you just raise too much junk.
When you breed all of them, you breed to mediocrity.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
In my
numbers.
Now I know guys that raise 800 or 900, but then it becomes a numbers game, and to repeatedly do that every year and year, I don't have the energy for it. So I'm happy with a couple hundred every year and get what I get, and then cull back down and then make progress the next year. As long as you keep going up the hill, you're all right. And every once in a while you'll roll down a little bit. As long as you keep going up, you're all right.
And you got to call.
Yeah,
you got to call.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to cull. They don't know how to cull. You got to master cull.
Look for a reason. Look for a reason to eliminate someone today.
Yeah, that's true. I say every time I'm feeding my birds, I'm asking them, why do I need to keep you? Why am I feeding you?
Yeah,
because I'm looking over my birds every day as I'm feeding them, looking for ones. I don't. Matt was right on. If it don't have a purpose on my yard, it's not going to be here.
No sense being there.
And if
he always told me, call right after you go by feed and you're in a bad mood. You'll get rid of more birds. And I've seen him in action. He's got a step ladder and a 50-gallon barrel there, filling it full of. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "I just got feed and I'm in a bad mood. It's call day."
Yeah.
So,
but then you've got some people out there like, no, I'm not calling nothing because that's a moneymaker. That's a moneymaker.
Yeah, that's the problem with some of these breeders.
Yeah.
So they'll hold on to things that they should have culled, but they don't because they think they can make money at them.
There's a whole lot of money in exhibition chickens, and we know because we put it there. So this is definitely not a money maker. It's a money loser. If this was a business, we'd have been out a whole long time ago. So, I've given more birds away to people than I've probably ever sold. And if it can help them, whatever, or they just want them running in the yard, that's fine. Well, a lot of people say, "Well, I'm going to kill it because I don't want it to breed." I don't give a shit what it does when it leaves here. You aren't so worried about getting beat by it. I said, I've been beat by birds I've sold. I've been beat by birds I give away. If that was my motivation, I'd have quit 30 years ago. I said, like I just told you, they all got to have a purpose, and I'm either going to use it here or use it there. And sometimes we'll keep a few extra back just for show birds. Okay. And if somebody wants to buy those, normally those are the ones that get sold. But if it's not if it's not good enough to breed from, I don't know why you have it.
Game fowl breeders will hold on to their birds because they know they can make money on people who don't really understand the bird less than they do.
Yeah.
And so they always feel like they have a monetary value to every bird and I've seen people order birds in the mail left and right, and very few I've ever seen come out of that box that look good. No. Very few.
Yeah, that's not right. And my goal is, I would like, it doesn't always happen, but I'd like to break even on feed, because I'm never going to break even on equipment I bought, going to and from the shows, the amount of time, your time's worth something, the amount of hours I have spent out there piddling, redoing it again. I got an idea. Well, let's go get more lumber. So you can't have that in your mind, or you will be here for a little bit and you will get burnt out because you will end up screwing yourself into the ground.
The difference between you guys, I'm sorry. The difference between you guys and game fowl guys, I don't know how much you sell your birds for, but these guys get thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, we don't
even from their culls.
Yeah, ours isn't that lucrative. So it is crazier now than it has been, because I guess I get like my dad. My dad always, when he got older, always bitched about the price of everything. So I find I have to check myself, because I'm bitching about gas and what it costs to go to a restaurant and chicken feed and this and that. But and the other thing I always say, if you bitch about the price of chicken feed, you have too many chickens. Yeah. So if that's your worst worry, then you got too many birds you need to cut back. But yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get rich. I don't think those days are long gone. And like he was talking about, those people made a living in the 20s and 30s, but after World War II, It was just a hobby, and it's just a place to pour money into. So
Yeah.
You gotta have the right. To me, you have to have the right reason for doing anything. If it brings you joy, what was my line? If it makes you smile, I'm going to keep it because it makes me smile. You have to find reasons every day, no matter what you do, to smile, to have something bring you joy. Because if you listen to the world and what the hell's going on everywhere and you doom scroll, you ain't living, brother or sister. You ain't living. You're existing. That's no way to be. Find something that makes you, whether it's chickens, whether it's horses, whether it's just going out and looking at a stream. If you find peace there, no matter how much it costs you monetarily, how much time it costs you, but you still makes you smile, that's why you do it. It's the people you meet. It's the places you get to see. And when you're somewhere bitching, and I drove 400 miles. Why don't you look out the damn window and enjoy what you're looking at along the way? It is what you make it. You can make it whatever you want, but that's no way to live. It's no way trying to get, $1,000 out of a bird. I'm not going to say what kind of bird at this time, but it's not worth $1,000, and it's nothing. It's nothing. So you're screwing somebody, that maybe could have really have done something, that really had the passion. But $1,000, I don't care what you do, but to most people, $1,000, and they've got kids at home, and they've got a mortgage too. I mean, to me, that's wrong. All right,
it gets worse.
If you want to do, and you've invested a lifetime, and you want to, let's just say sell eggs. All right, I'm going to get $150 a dozen. That's too much. Okay, don't buy them. I mean, that's a simple thing. Don't buy them.
Well, the tragedy is they'll pay thousands of dollars for the birds, and they pull them out of the box, and they don't know how bad they actually are because they're not talking to the right people. Okay. They don't realize they're in trouble till a few years down the road when they've bred them, produced all kinds of offspring from them. They got a whole yard full of them, and then they find out that the birds weren't worth anything. You think the $1,000 they spent on the trio or the brood fowl were bad? Think about how much money they put into them in those 3 years and how many birds they ended up producing. So, that's the sad part.
What we do with that, and I had an instance last summer, or last summer. I had a show where a woman had paid.
Last June.
She wanted me to look at her bird. She bought it for her daughter, and she paid, this was $1,500 for one chicken, one silky. And it was basically a call. It wasn't a standard variety. It had the wrong leg color, the wrong, everything. What I did with her, I said, ma'am, you got screwed there. I'm going to tell you that right up front. But I said, there's two women standing over there, Patty Bailey, Melissa Shuckers. I said, they will not screw you. They will sell you a good bird, and it will produce good birds, and you're not going to pay near that for it. So what'd she do? She went over there. She got a couple pairs from one, a couple pairs from the other. She was happy. She was glad I told her that. But that person that, I don't know who it was, but if I ever did, they would definitely get an earful. In our hobby, that's a small circle. So if you're going to really cheat somebody like that, it's going to get around, and you might make 1,000 on this one, but it's not going to go down every time you sell one. And we see that a lot now with so many new people getting in, that they're getting these exorbitant prices for certain things, and people are attracted to those. Fine, but
for junk, they are junk.
You're always better to go get somebody before you make a purchase like that. Like if I was going to buy game fowl, I'm going to talk to Kenny. I'm not just going to order them online and hope for the best. And I'm reluctant to buy anything anymore with the way the postal system is. So and hatching eggs, we'll go into that story. I wrote an article years ago on hatching eggs. Hatching eggs are like buying a lottery ticket at the gas station.
That's true.
You rub it off. If you win, if they hatch, you win. If they don't, throw it in the trash and go. And that's the attitude you have to have. A guy called me today. He gave a woman 3 goose eggs, and she called and complained because she only hatched 2 geese out of those 3 eggs.
That's
wow.
good.
I said, boy, she wouldn't have lasted too long with me because her ears would be on fire. And he says, I didn't even know what to say. I said, I would have told her to, where to go. Yeah, 2 out of 3 is pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
not
really
a bad
good.
average, actually.
Yeah.
Order more eggs.
So it takes all kinds. And if you sell hatching eggs, you will find all kinds. So people will spend a bunch of money for hatch. Ask Mikey. Will spend a bunch of money for hatching eggs and have no goddamn clue how to hatch them. And then it's your fault because you sold them the eggs.
Yeah.
When 18 other people hatched, 8 or 9 or a dozen out of them. So that's my hatching egg preaching spiel for today.
I could talk to you guys all night. We're way over 2 hours. We need to do this again. We're gonna end it. You have any final advice you want to give people before we wrap this up?
You want to go first, Patty?
You go ahead because mine will be short.
Okay. I think you're implying something there. No.
How do you really feel?
Yeah. I think the main advice I could give someone, I think I already did, is find something that's right for you, something that makes you happy, something that you can live with, something you could lose money on, but get enjoyment out of it. Okay? And you can spend $250,000 for a sports car that goes 300 miles an hour, or you could go buy a Kia or whatever. They're both going to get you to your destination. You can only go so fast legally. Whatever makes you happy and gets you where you need to be and makes you smile, that's what you do. But you should research everything. Don't believe everything, and don't believe your eyes half the time. You don't know what the hell your brain can't tell your eyes what you're actually looking for. Find someone that knows, take their advice. You have to trust them because there's bad people everywhere. There's really good people. I still think there's a lot more good people than bad people. Get some advice, study, think it over. If you want to get in our game, hey, go to some shows. Don't be impulsive. Go and take time to look because there's always chickens for sale or ducks or geese or whatever the hell you like. Find something you like, try it. Start small, get bigger later. Always start small and get the best that you can afford. Not that you can buy, that you can afford, because they're birds, they eat, they poop, and they die. Okay? So get what you can afford to lose. It's kind of like betting on horses. Never bet more than you can afford to lose. You may win, yes. Probably not. But that doesn't. What I'm saying is, there's hope, right? So that would be. But you have to investigate. You have to see. You have to go talk to people. Talk to a shitload of people. Talk to people that know people to figure out. Hey, I really like. I don't know. Just name the breed. Whether it's your American Games, well, find out who knows about them. Maybe these two guys. And just talk. You don't have to buy immediately. Go, talk, investigate, try it out. If you don't like it, it doesn't mean it's all bad. Find something else, another breed. But, just find something that makes you happy and study and work, because nothing comes easy. You have to put it, you get into this game, you get out of this game what you put in it. If you don't put it in, you'll never get it out. So that's all I got. Okay,
I'm going to make mine real short. So instead of going to somebody and asking to buy their best birds, do something different. And I've told some kids this, and it's worked well for them. Tell them you want to buy a trio or two pairs of birds, because if you lose that male, you got one to back up.
Yep.
But 2 pairs of birds that you want to raise some birds out of. Don't go and approach them that you want their best show birds or you want Kenny's best American game birds. I want to buy some birds from you that I can raise some good birds from. Number one, that impresses the person selling them to you because they think that you're actually going to go home and actually try to raise some, and they're probably going to give you a little better foundation to get started with. And then remember that last thing I said, what you tolerate is what you have. So if you keep that in mind and keep those things in mind and approach a breeder with some respect and not just trying to buy don't come to me and try to buy my winters. Michael know what I'll tell you. You ain't got enough money, and we have this Noah's Ark syndrome in our hobby where they got to have two of everything. If you come with them like that way, I know that you're going to be committed to raising whatever it is you're trying to buy from them and not just collecting them to go show them. So then what you tolerate is what you have. That goes for everything in life. Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, yeah. Had a good day. We should have you guys on.
Yeah, we need to have you over on the other side.
Sure. Just let me know when. Nancy, you have anything to say?
Sue's saying one of the best shows that you guys have done was with Paul Monteith
from Canada. He's our standard committee chairman on the ABA side. So at the time we were putting out a new standard, and Paul's very passionate about his standards, and everything's got to be just so. They would hate him, Kenny, if they were trying to run that American game thing by him, because it would last about 2 seconds.
God, maybe that's what we need.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate having you guys on here today. And what a great conversation we've had tonight. We're going to have you on again. I know you're busy and all that. And it was funny when we saw you at the show last November. We're like, give us some time in the new year, maybe March or something like that. And I was thinking, God, that's so far away.
And then I had hip surgery.
Wow. So. Yeah. I mean, it's just like,
you had hip surgery and a tooth and a dental thing.
Oh, yeah. Still have it. And, still need to fix it.
and then all of a sudden it's here. So it's here before we know it. But yeah, we're definitely going to have you guys on again. This is wonderful. We had a great time tonight. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was fun. I love the conversation setting. I want to encourage everybody to check out their show, which is Talking Chickens with M&M Exhibition Poultry. Very good show. If you guys are into showing birds, it's one of the best shows in that venue that's out there. And what I tell everybody, and I told these guys, is they have some great interviews, really good experiences, a lot of good information. But some of my favorites are the ones that are actually with these two by themselves when they're just chatting, because the knowledge really comes out of them. Start with episode 1 and 2, because I don't know how they feel about it, but I thought 1 and 2 was great. Those were awesome episodes. I probably listened to both of them twice at least. And so to check it out. But I do want to appreciate you guys for coming on. Just let us know if you want us on your show. I'll definitely come. Definitely. Yeah.
Yes, guys, and make sure you subscribe to their show. Help the algorithms get more viewers for them, as well as us. So subscribe if you haven't done it already.
Subscribe. We're definitely amateurs at this.
Click the bell.
We're definitely amateurs.
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify. Get on it.
That's right. They're everywhere, just like we are. So
we're retired. Come on, folks. Come on.
Help us out.
But how much you guys judge shows? I don't think you're retired at all. I don't know about that.
No. And we didn't get into it this week, this podcast, but I was in the feed business for a long time too. So
I was going to ask you about that, but we talked about.
Yeah, we'll get that on the next one. I sold out in December, when I had to admit to myself I'm too old to throw 12 tons of feed a month. So
wow. Okay.
Not only that, you guys have written some books too. So like to talk about that as well.
Yep.
All right, we have a whole new show. So
a whole new show. We got another 2.5 hours we can kill.
Yeah, look out.
The way we do it, we don't even need the outline. We just go off the cuff, man. Yeah, you guys followed my points perfect. You guys just led right into the next to the next. It was awesome. So it's so nice to work with professionals who understand how this works. Podcasting, because
it's a conversation.
That's it. It's all about the conversation,
not question and answer. Yeah, but just let them go.
That's right.
Let them go, because one thing leads to another, things to another, things to another. That's how you get honesty. And that's sometimes when actually I need someone to say, you can't say that, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, we get that too. So it's Talking Chickens podcast, right?
Talking Chickens with M&M Exhibition Poultry.
Exhibition Poultry.
Okay.
And you can, if you look up on YouTube, that Talking Chickens with M&M Exhibition Poultry. You can find it. Go there. They're all on there. All the shorts are on there. I don't know if they stick on Facebook or not, Matt. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know how yours does, but I think ours are starting to drop off where they get so far down you can't find them. But
Yeah.
we pin the last 3 at the top, and then Spotify has all 63 of them. So
Yes, and
For those that
Spotify
wanna-
has everything. You can go back and start with one, and they'll just keep on climbing as you go. So
Yeah.
you can fall asleep. I'm not
63 could
Hey.
take a week.
No, you can go out there, feed your chickens, and listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah,
I mean, a
that's
lot of our
absolutely
members do that as
a
well.
lot of ours do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
They're
traveling
on-
to a show. And it's like I
Yeah.
said, wow, we make hype videos and we didn't even know it. We listen to you all the way here, and I think, damn, you're
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. They say it's the 1,000 greatest fans. You know, it's the 1,000 people that follow everything you do, watch everything you do, every time you put some out. There's always the same 1,000 people that if you can get those, you're golden. You know, everybody else is gravy. That's how I look at it. So, okay, thanks a lot. I really appreciate
Thanks,
you
guys.
guys, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye.